Part 49. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 482. On November 5, with the intervention of the upper management, the 3Q war that lasted for nearly a year finally subsided temporarily. 360 offlined Cao bodyguard and issued an open letter stating that it was willing to put aside the dispute. On the 10th, 360 announced that QQ and 360 have resumed compatibility. On the 21st, Penguin also issued a letter of apology to the public. Penguin and 360 have finally made peace with each other. Without the restraint of 360, Penguin immediately turned its attention to Kudong Group. On November 8, Kudong Group disclosed Kakao data to the public for the first time. In the 18 days since its launch, the number of users of Kakao has reached more than 24 million. Tao Guang was secretive before to avoid irritating Penguin prematurely, but now that WeChat is about to go online, there is no need to hide it anymore. Penguin's response was faster than Li Zhe expected, and WeChat was built in just half a month. As soon as this data was announced, it caused a shock in the industry, and the media also reported it one after another. In 18 days, there were more than 24 million users. This speed is amazing. Currently, there are only over 100 million smartphone users in China, which means that in just over 2 weeks, Kudiao captured 20 to 30% of the market. However, as soon as Kudiao's prospects seem to be excellent, not many capitals have taken the initiative to contact Kudong Group. Even if a few capitals have offered to take shares, the valuations given are very low. 10 years later, there is a saying that in order to judge whether a project has investment value, you must first see whether BAT will undertake the project. The same is true now. Although Kudiao has a considerable early advantage, there is a huge gap in strength between giants like Kudong Group and Penguin. It's hard to say how likely Kukat is to win. Once the Kukat project fails, all investment will be in vain. Capital is like this, it will always be the icing on the cake and will never provide help in times of need. Li Zhe didn't care about this. Now they are unwilling to place a bet. When Kudiao develops in the future and they rush to invest again, they will lose a lot of money. Besides, he is not short of funds now. On November 12, Penguin officially released WeChat. This version of WeChat has basically the same functions as Kukat. It can send text messages and pictures, voice messages of no more than 60 seconds, and a circle of friends. However, thanks to the synchronization of Kakao and a strong publicity campaign, WeChat had nearly 3 million users in just one day after its launch. Penguin has also formed offline and online promotion teams, but due to the rush, the promotion team is far from interesting and mature, experienced and efficient. Just 2 hours after WeChat went online, Kudong Group released Kakao version 2.0. This version of Kukat adds location-based services nearby people, drifting bottle and shake, allowing users to connect with nearby strangers. For Kukat version 2.0, the number of new users per day has increased from more than 500,000 to nearly 1 million. The most important thing about instant messaging software is its social function. Just like the first group of people who chatted all night long just to make friends. People nearby, drifting bottle and shake it up were social, y, communication, p, artifacts when they first came out. Learning from Goose, no, Penguin reacted very quickly. Only 5 days later, WeChat version 2.0 was released, which also added functions like people nearby, drift bottle and shake. At this time, Kudong Group also announced that Kakao's new recruitment reward has increased to 50 Kcoins, 5 yuan, per person, and those who have reached 2,000 Kcoins can apply for cash withdrawal. And users' Kcoins can be traded with each other. In other words, as long as you attract a new user, you can earn 5 yuan, and you can realize it if you reach 200 yuan. If you don't meet the withdrawal requirement of 200 yuan, You can also sell the fun coins to others. As soon as this strategy came out, Kudong Group made it clear that it wanted to compete with Penguin Company to see who could burn more money. Kudong Group is Ligia's one-stop shop, but a listed company like Penguin must consider the opinions of investors and shareholders. It's not like Mama can spend huge amounts of money on promotion with just one sentence. If huge amounts of money are to be spent, high-level officials must hold meetings to discuss it. What Kudong Group and Penguin are competing for is time. Under the temptation of high new recruit rewards, the number of new users in Kakao every day was more than 1 million, and it did not drop until a week later. On December 10, 51 days after its launch, Kakao's number of users exceeded 50 million, with an average of nearly 1 million new users every day, accounting for less than half of the market share. It can be said to have created a promotion miracle. The price is to burn 3 to 4 billion in funds. At this time, the number of WeChat users was less than 20 million, more than 16 million to be precise. After WeChat exploded in the early stage, its subsequent development has been sluggish. The main reason is that the market has been occupied by Kakao first. After users get used to Kakao, they are not willing to change. Even if you download WeChat to play with it, it will be uninstalled soon. Kakao is always organizing activities. You can use Kakao to recharge phone bills, book tickets, redeem memberships, and get discounts with Kcoins, and its subsidies far exceed those of WeChat. At this time, anyone with a discerning eye could see that Kakao had established a firm foothold. Even if Penguin still has a chance to get back on its feet, it will have to pay a huge price and engage in a long-term battle for users with Kudong Group. On December 17, Penguin optimized the QQ mobile version and added new functions such as voice messages and friend updates. In fact, as early as 2003, Penguin launched the mobile version of QQ, Mobile QQ. Because most of the mobile phones at that time were feature phones and Symbian system, the interface of the entire software was relatively simple and could only meet the most basic online requirements. Chat needs. Penguin imitated the functions of WeChat and optimized the mobile version of Quokka in advance. On the one hand, it can attack Kukat via both Quokka and WeChat. On the other hand, it also prepared a backup plan for the failure of WeChat. Even if the WeChat project really fails, Penguin can still turn around and focus on running the Kakao mobile version and compete with Kudiao again. Quokka has a huge user base of 800 million people, and it is still unclear who will win and who will lose. This is also Penguin's background as a veteran instant messaging industry leader. Even if it loses 1 or 2 games, it can regroup and fight again. However, as an emerging challenger, Kudong Group cannot lose a game. If it loses, it will be eliminated. Seeing that Kakao has withstood the competition from WeChat and is expected to succeed, everyone at Kudong Group is happy. If the Fun Chat project is really successful, the options in everyone's hands can be cashed out. By then, even ordinary employees can get hundreds of thousands. Executives can become millionaires, multimillionaires, and even billionaires. Once when Li Jie was visiting his employees, Yang Function asked him if he could redeem more options. In fact, it is not just Yang Function, many people have this idea. A lot of capital has also come to the door, wanting to add icing on the cake. However, Li Jie was not as optimistic as the employees. Fun Chat is just about winning a game first, and the outcome is still unknown until the end. The next 2 years will be the key to the development of Kudiao, especially from 2012 onwards, smartphone shipments will explode. If Kudiao cannot capture enough new users by then, it may be caught up or even overtaken by WeChat. Moreover, even if Kudiao defeats WeChat, Penguin still has a mobile version of Quokka, so it can still compete with Kudiao. It is impossible for Kuliao to monopolize the instant messaging market like Quakao. It just broke Penguin's dominance of the instant messaging industry. At that time, it is likely that a long-term competition pattern between Kakao and Quokka mobile versions will be formed. The QQ mobile version actually has great development potential, but after the emergence of WeChat, Penguin relaxed its operation of the QQ mobile version. Therefore, even if the WeChat project fails, Penguin's development potential will only be weakened and will not really decline. Back in early November, in the president's office, Li Jie was being interviewed by Shanghai TV. Twice on the rich list, with a net worth of more than 20 billion, becoming the youngest billionaire in the world, and openly challenging giants like Penguin, which made Li Jie the target of media pursuit. Recently, the media have been coming to interview him every day. At most, more than a dozen media came in one day. But Li Jie didn't have so much time to deal with the media. He basically declined all the interviews he could, and only selectively accepted interviews from a few major media. He just accepted an interview with Fortune magazine yesterday, and today Shanghai TV station came again. Kudong Group has a good relationship with the local Shanghai TV station, and the Shanghai TV station has interviewed Li Jie many times, so there is really no way to shirk it. This time the Shanghai TV station came here to give him a more detailed special report. The Shanghai TV station attached great importance to this interview. A deputy station director personally led the team, and a group of more than a dozen people came. They not only wanted to interview Li Jie, but also had an in-depth understanding of the entire Kudong Group and shot a lot of material. The person responsible for interviewing Li Jie was Yang Yu, a senior reporter from the TV station who had interviewed him once before, and there were two new reporters, a man and a woman, as her assistants. The female reporter among them is Xiao Yu, the intern who came with Yang Yu last time. She is a very beautiful girl. More than a year has passed, and she has officially joined the job as a trainee reporter. She can become a regular reporter after the assessment period. The interview lasted for a long time, and Yang Yu and Li Jie talked a lot. Starting from what happened when Li Jie was a child, we have been chatting until he recently appeared on the Forbes Rich list and posted interesting chats. Regarding Yang Yu's question, Li Jie answered very modestly and didn't say anything pretentious such as a small goal of 100 million. Spending money is more difficult than making money. I have no interest in money. I am blind. When Yang Yu asked him why he could achieve so much at such a young age, Li Jie attributes his success more to the development of the country, the opportunities given by the times, and a little bit of luck. He also emphasized that he is not a giant of the times, but this era has made him what he is. The stronger a person is, the more humble and cautious he must be. Not to mention that Li Jie is still so young. It's impossible for Jack Ma, Richard Liu, and Boss Wang not to understand this truth. But if you are too complacent, you will inevitably become a little drifting. During a break during the interview, the beautiful trainee reporter named Xiao Yu came to Li Jie with a notebook. "Mr. Li, can you sign your name for me?" She looked at Li Jie with admiration in her eyes. Now Li Jie has become the entrepreneurial idol of many young people. Many people on the internet call him the Bill Gates of China. Both started their own businesses in college, both started from scratch, and both achieved amazing achievements at a young age. Bill Gates' inspirational stories are very popular right now. Many people in China really think that Bill Gates is self-made and regard him as an idol for learning. Little did he know that his family was actually very wealthy. His grandfather was once the president of the National Bank, and his mother was a director of the banking system. She was also good friends with an executive from IBM. They are basically second-generation entrepreneurs. Just like Xiao Ma from the ordinary family could afford a computer in 1984. The vast majority of successful people have backgrounds. Of course Li Jie took the book from Xiao Yu and signed it. After Xiao Yu got the signature, he did not leave immediately, showing that he was hesitant to speak. "Why, is there anything else?" Li Jie asked with a smile. "Mr. Li, can we have a fun chat?" This request is a bit excessive. A person of Li Jie's level will not easily give others his contact information. However, Li Jie readily agreed without hesitation, yes. TV reporters like Xiao Yu still have some friendship value. Well, it has absolutely nothing to do with her being pretty. When Xiao Yu heard this, his pretty face showed joy, and he quickly took out his mobile phone and exchanged interesting chats with Li Jie. Yang Yu, who was sitting not far away, felt a little emotional watching this scene. When she came to interview Li Jie last year, he was just a budding young entrepreneur. Who would have thought that in just a year or two, he would become the youngest business tycoon, someone she looked up to. This change was so fast. By the time the interview ended, it was already past 6 p.m. Li Jie did not work overtime tonight. After the interview team left, he took Yu Xiangzi and left the company surrounded by 5 or 6 bodyguards. After the exposure greatly increased, Li Jie increased the security forces around him. Not only did he transfer Shen Beishan back from the group's security department, he served as his security assistant and was fully responsible for his security work. We also recruited a few new real masters. One is a master of Bajiquan, and the other is a retired soldier of the special forces. There is also a beautiful bodyguard who studied in a martial arts school since childhood and served as a soldier. Among them, the Bajiquan master is Li Jie's personal bodyguard and has to take bullets for him at critical moments. In addition, Li Jie also ordered a bulletproof extended version of the Maybach, worth 16 million. In fact, the country, especially the mainland, can be said to be one of the regions with the best security in the world. Things like the frequent kidnappings of rich people in Hong Kong in the 1980s and 1990s are almost impossible to happen. Until 2021, Li Jie had never heard of any of the top richest people in the country being kidnapped. However, safety issues must be nipped in the bud and no one can take advantage of them. Bentley Arnage RL came to Huangpu and stopped in front of a restaurant called Dexing Hall. Dexing Hotel is a time-honored hotel with a history of more than 100 years. It was founded in the 9th year of Guangxu in the Qing dynasty. This restaurant is the most authentic Benbang cuisine, Shanghai cuisine, restaurant in Shanghai, which originates from Suxi cuisine in Jiangsu province. After getting off the car, Li Jie took Yu Xiangzi and the bodyguards into the Dexing pavilion and went up to the private room on the 3rd floor, which was the private room. Shen Beishan and Zhou Chao were all standing guard outside the box. Li Jie only took Yu Xiangzi and the newly recruited beautiful bodyguard Xu Mei in. Seeing Li Jie and Yu Xiangzi walking in, a middle-aged man in his 50s in the box immediately stood up and greeted them enthusiastically. "Mr. Li, I am Yu Jianmin, welcome to your honor." Li Jie took a look at the other person. He had short hair, a medium build, and a pair of rimless glasses. He had a gentle and humble smile on his face, which made him feel very approachable. However, there was a shrewdness unique to businessmen in his eyes. "I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn." Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 483. This man is Yu Xiangzi's father. Li Jie also stretched out his hand to shake it. "Hello, boss Yu." "Mr. Li, please sit down quickly," Yu Jianmin greeted enthusiastically. After everyone sat down, Yu Jianmin asked Yu Xiangzi to pour tea for Li Jie and said with a smile, "Mr. Li, you are really young and promising, putting us old people to shame. When I was in my 20s, I was still working in a factory and could only earn 36 yuan a month." Li Jie smiled and said, "Boss Yu, you are too humble. You, the older generation, have rich experience that we young people cannot compare with. Besides, times have changed. More than 20 years have passed. My salary back then was tens of dollars, but now it's thousands. Yes, times have changed. Now you young people are all engaged in the internet. We old people can't keep up with the times and don't understand what the internet is." After hearing Yu Xiangzi say that her father wanted to treat him to dinner, Li Jie asked someone to inquire about him. This Yu Jianmin runs a clothing factory with 400 or 500 people in Zhejiang province. He mainly does OEM work for some domestic and foreign brand clothing. The business is not bad, and the factory is not in trouble as Yu Xiangzi said. Obviously either Yu Xiangzi didn't tell him the truth, or Yu Zhenmin even lied to his daughter. After exchanging greetings, Yu Zhenmin picked up the menu and asked Li Jie to order. Li Jie ordered a few of the restaurant's famous traditional dishes, such as tuna, herring, black carp, and shrimp, and then handed the menu back to Yu Zhenmin, who ordered some more dishes according to the number of people on the table. Soon, the food arrived. The Shanghainese dishes were exquisitely presented and tasted delicious, but the portions were too small. Also, the taste is a bit sweet, which northerners like Li Jie are not used to. Several people chatted while eating, and the atmosphere became lively. Yu Zhenmin is very talkative, always finds topics to talk about, and makes people feel comfortable talking. This is a very shrewd businessman, Li Jie commented in his heart. Xiangzi, help Mr. Li pour the wine. Seeing that his daughter was just eating vegetables, Yu Zhenmin ordered. Xiangzi put down her chopsticks and picked up the beer to serve Li Jimin. Yu Zhenmin originally suggested drinking liquor, but Li Jie declined. After chatting for a while, seeing that the atmosphere was almost settled, Yu Zhenmin brought the topic to OEM. Working as an OEM for big overseas brands would be relatively more profitable. However, the size of Yu Zhenmin's garment factory is not high in Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Shanghai, so it is difficult to receive orders from overseas. Kudong Group's orders are highly profitable, and its products are sold to European and American markets. If it can be OEM for Kudong Group, it will be more convincing to discuss cooperation with other overseas brands in the future. After hearing this, Li Jie happily expressed that he could give Yu Zhenmin a big deal. In fact, for the production of peripheral products of Kudong Group, it is rare to find factories for OEM. Mainly based on self-production in affiliated factories, only when the products are too busy during the hot sales period, some OEM orders will be released to the outside world. The qualifications of domestic OEM factories vary greatly, and many OEM manufacturers take advantage of OEM opportunities to secretly produce pirated products. This has happened more than once. The qualifications of Yu Zhenmin's clothing factory are very average, and he doesn't have the ability to do OEM work for Kudong Group. Li Jie is willing to give him a big order just because of Yu Xiangzi's face. After receiving a large order worth tens of millions, Yu Zhenmin's eyes flashed with disappointment, but his face showed gratitude, and he toasted Li Jie repeatedly to express his gratitude. He wants to cooperate with Kudong Group for a long time rather than just get a big order. After finishing the meal, Yu Zhenmin enthusiastically sent Li Jie outside the hotel. It wasn't until his car was far away that he stopped smiling. On the Bentley Arnage RL, Yu Xiangzi glanced at the slightly drunk Li Jie and said gratefully, "Mr. Li, thank you." Li Jie just smiled and said nothing. This Yu Xiangzi is relatively simple, unlike her father who is shrewd to the core. If you want to benefit from cooperation with Kudong Group, but are unwilling to accept a shareholding, how can it be such a good thing? The affiliated factories acquired by Kudong Group all account for more than 51% of the shares, which means that they must at least be relatively controlled. After the acquisition, the factory must be rectified and operated in a regular and modern manner. The salary and benefits of Kudong Group's affiliated factories are first-rate in the industry, and Social Security is paid after the 3-month internship period. The company is willing to pay Social Security for its employees, even the lowest level of Social Security. This alone exceeds more than 90% of domestic companies. Therefore, Kudong Group has a very good reputation in Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Shanghai, and many people want to join Kudong Group's factories. However, Kudong Group's factories have good welfare, high employee recruitment standards, and stricter management. On November 16, when the number of Kukat users exceeded 30 million, Li Jie went to the capital again with his secretary and bodyguards. This time he went to the capital, firstly to inspect the branch, and secondly to meet with Zhou Hongyi, Ding Sanqi and others to see if they could form a loose alliance to jointly fight against Penguin. Another thing is to meet with Rebus and learn about Xiaomi's research and development progress. In recent years, Penguin has been involved in everything, including games, portals, antivirus software, etc., which has caused public outrage. The Internet conference held in August this year brought the conflict between these Internet tycoons and Penguin to the fore. Dissatisfied with the organizers' excessive care for penguins in news reports, Xinlang and Sohu both withdrew from the conference, and Ding Sanqi of Internet Yi did not attend. Li Jie also did not attend this year's Internet conference, but he heard about the penguin booking out incident. The reluctance of Xinlang, Sohu, and Nitai to attend Internet conferences is by no means the superficial reason, but that Penguin is becoming more and more aggressive not only in the security field, but also in news portals, games, and other fields. On the plane, Zhang Wenjun glanced at Li Jie, who was leaning on the chair with his eyes closed to relax, and reached out to press the call bell. This time when he went to the capital, Li Jie did not bring Yu Xiangzi, but Zhang Wenjun, who had just been promoted as his personal secretary. As things got busier and busier, Li Jieshan felt that one personal secretary was not enough, so he decided to promote another secretary. One of the two secretaries is responsible for handling trivial matters for him, and the other is responsible for taking care of his daily life. Zhang Wenjun is the life secretary. Her massage skills are so good, she is very suitable to be this life secretary. Li Jie knows people and makes good use of them, and he has absolutely no selfish motives. "Miss, do you need any help?" As soon as Zhang Wenjun pressed the call bell, a tall, beautiful, long-legged flight attendant came over. This stewardess is the stewardess named Su Yewei whom Li Jie met twice before. However, Zhang Wenjun did not recognize the other party. "Please bring me a blanket." "Okay." With that said, the female stewardess glanced at Li Jie. She was very impressed with this passenger. He likes to drag pretty girls to the bathroom. When the stewardess brought the blanket, Zhang Wenjun took it and carefully covered Li Jie's body. Zhang Wenjun was pleasantly surprised when she received the notice of job adjustment a few days ago. She had given up hope, but she didn't expect that Li Jie would be given an additional secretary position. Zhang Wenjun even suspected that this position was deliberately prepared for her. This also made her feel energetic and took good care of Li Jie. The plane arrived in Beijing at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. After Li Jie and his party came out of Capital International Airport, they took a taxi back to Palm Springs International Apartment. This year, Li Jie has not been to the capital a few times, and this 380 square meter top-level apartment with a large loft has always been empty. However, as his career reaches its peak, he will definitely come to the capital more often in the future. After returning to the apartment, Li Jie took a shower and rested for a while. At night, he changed into more casual clothes and got ready to go out. "Wenjun, I have to go out for something. If you and Shumei are bored, just go out for a walk. If you don't want to go too far, you can also go to the club downstairs to have fun. There is a natural hot spring inside." "Mr. Li, how about I go out with you?" Zhang Wenjun stood up and said. "No need," Li Jie said with a smile. He was going on a date with a girl, he was going to handle personal matters, and it was inconvenient to bring a beautiful female secretary with him. Li Jie took Shen Baihan, Zhou Chao and 3 or 4 other bodyguards to the underground parking lot and got into a super cool blue Ferrari F458. Then he started the supercar, stepped on the accelerator, and roared out of the parking lot. Shen Baihan and the others drove a BMW SUV, following closely behind the supercar. The capital city in the evening was really congested. Li Jie drove his supercar onto the main road and was blocked not long after driving. Around 6 p.m. is the rush hour for commuting, and private cars are jammed into a long queue on the road. Not far in front of Li Jie, There is also a supercar, Lamborghini Bat, which is the giant of the previous generation. A young man with long flowing hair honked the horn impatiently and stuck his head out of the car window to look out. When the young man turned around, Ligia glanced at him and felt that he looked familiar. After being stuck for a while, the traffic started to move a little bit. More than 40 minutes later, Ligia drove a Ferrari F458 to the Central Theater. The more than 20-minute drive was twice as jam-packed. Ligia parked his car next to the school gate and found that the Lamborghini Bat he had encountered before was also parked not far away. Beep, the Lamborghini horn sounded, and then the young man with long flowing hair pressed down the window and stuck his head out. "Dude, your car is pretty good." Ligia also pressed down the car window, looked at the other person carefully, and said a little surprised, "Wang, tearing onions." Unexpectedly, the tearing of green onions at this time was quite artistic. When the young man heard this, he was stunned and said, "Brother, do you know me?" He has been studying abroad since he was a child. He has just returned to China not long ago, and he doesn't have many acquaintances here in the capital. "I don't know." Ligia shook his head. After hearing this, the young man said a little speechlessly, "Brother, you are not interesting anymore." As he said that, he looked at Ligia carefully and felt that he looked familiar. At this moment, a girl with big eyes, oval face, and beautiful dress came to the Lamborghini and gently knocked on the car window. The young man turned to look at the girl, shook his head, and signaled her to get in the car. Then he ignored her and continued to say to Ligia, "Brother, can you tell me who you are?" Ligia didn't look at him, but looked at the school gate. Wearing a blue knitted jacket and jeans, with a bun, Shu Sudan, who looked very pure and sweet, walked out of the school gate. Ligia got out of the car, smiled and waved to Shu Sudan. Shu Sudan couldn't help but smile on his face and walked over quickly. "Brother Jet." Ligia reached out and opened the car door for her. "Get in the car." At that party, he and Shu Sudan had an interesting chat, and occasionally chatted a few words. Just as she opened the car door and got into the car, the beautiful girl couldn't help but look envious when she saw Ligia being so considerate to Shu Sudan, and then subconsciously glanced at the young man. But I saw that he was in a daze, seeming to be thinking about something. He didn't come back to his senses until Ligia drove Shu Sudan away. "Brother Wang," she called him softly. "I know." The young man suddenly slapped his thigh in excitement. "He is Ligia." As soon as he returned to China, he was scolded by the old man, saying that he was just messing around abroad and couldn't even get his diploma back. "Look at Ligia, who is only 1 year older than you and is already worth billions. And the last time I called him, the last sentence even changed to, 'He is worth more than me.' He replied, 'That's your life in vain.'" As a result, he was scolded bloody by the old man. The young man suddenly thought of something, turned around and asked the girl next to him, "Who is the girl who got into Ligia's car? Is she from your school too?" The pretty girl was stunned for a moment and said, "Yes, her professional acting name is Shu Sudan." There were not many students in the art school, so it was natural for her not to know Shu Sudan, a famous beauty in the school. Ligia drove Shu Sudan to Sanlitun in a supercar. He has watched a few episodes of the new version of Yaishan and has no feelings for Xiaomin, but he does like Zhou's Hiruo. Chen Yuki is very beautiful, but her eyes are empty and lifeless. After parking the car, Ligia took Shu Sudan into the cinema and bought 2 tickets for 33 Days of Love. Love is Not Blind was released on October 22. It was released for more than 20 days and earned more than 280 million at the box office. It is another successful work of Cuckoo Entertainment. Since the movie was about to be released, there were many people in the screening room, with a dozen or so people sitting sparsely. Ligia and Shu Sudan found a seat slightly behind and sat down. Soon, the lights in the screening room dimmed and the movie started to show. Ligia has never watched 33 Days of Love, but he has no interest in this kind of chick flick. Shu Sudan looked very immersed in it and seemed to feel the same. Li Jie reached into the popcorn bucket in her arms, wanting to grab some popcorn to eat, while Shu Sudan subconsciously reached out to grab the popcorn, so that their hands touched each other. Shu Sudan came back to his senses, with a shy smile on his face. Li Jie thought she was quiet and gentle at first, but later he discovered that she was actually a lively, cheerful, and playful girl in private. Just when Li Jie was hooking up with a girl, no, he was caring about his employees. Over in Shanghai, Zhou Ziyu took Yu Xiangzi and her bodyguards to a 5-star hotel. She was going to participate in a charity auction tonight. The auction was led by the Commerce Commission and jointly organized by several major companies in Canada. It was large-scale and attended by many film and television stars, celebrities, and ladies. It will also be broadcast on many TV stations and major portal websites. Kudong Group is also one of the co-organizers of this charity auction, and Zhou Ziyu attended on behalf of Li Jie. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 484. Pudong, Star River Hotel. Luxury cars gathered at the entrance of the hotel, which was extremely lively. A long red carpet was spread from the entrance of the hotel to the edge of the square. Both sides of the red carpet were surrounded by passers-by and fans, and the media kept taking photos. Celebrities, and ladies walked on the red carpet, waving to the media on both sides from time to time, earning enough attention. Zhou Ziyu and Yu Xiangzi stepped out of the car together, held hands and stepped onto the red carpet, heading into the hotel. Wearing a long black dress, Zhou Ziyu, who was extremely charming and sexy, immediately became the focus of the media cameras, and the flashbulbs flashed. Some reporters kept taking pictures and asked their colleagues around them, "Who is this beauty? She is so beautiful. This is Chen Yu, a famous beauty writer on the internet." Writer? Then how did she become the representative of Kudong Group? Who knows? Maybe with Li Jie. The reporter who spoke had a look that you know. Walking in front of Zhou Ziyu and Yu Xiangzi was a very beautiful female star, dressed very grandly. She walked slowly, enjoying the feeling of being the center of attention. But the cameras suddenly turned away, causing her expression to freeze. She looked back at Zhou Ziyu jealously, and then quickened her pace. Zhou Ziyu and Yu Xiangzi walked into the hotel together, came to the auction hall, and sat down in the designated seats in the front row. More than 200 people came to participate in the charity auction tonight. They are all high-end entrepreneurs, business elites, popular celebrities, and other celebrities. Not far from Zhou Ziyu's table were Sun Li and Deng Xiao, as well as Yang Ziyi and Huang Shenji. Sun Li, Deng Xiao, and his wife nodded politely to Zhou Ziyu, and Yang Zi also looked at her a few more times. In fact, not only Yang Zi, but also many people nearby were looking at Zhou Ziyu, especially men. A fashionably dressed girl sitting at the same table with Zhou Ziyu and Yu Xiangzi looked at Zhou Ziyu curiously and said, "Zhu Qinlin from Qingyuan Group, who are you?" Qingyuan Group is a large group in Uzhu, with dozens of companies under its name, including real estate, hotels, shopping malls, etc. Zhou Ziyu is barely a writer, Zhou Ziyu said with a chuckle. You and Li were always friends. I'm his girlfriend. When Zhu Qinlin heard this, she immediately became enthusiastic and said, "Tsuyu, right? If nothing happens, we can all get together. Red Butterfly Group, Qian Ziwi, this is my girlfriend. Kornya, we have opened a small club. Welcome to come and play." Others at the table also took the initiative to introduce themselves. These people are all second-generation celebrities, and all of them are either rich or noble. Zhou Ziyu chatted with them for a few words and quickly became familiar with them. At this time, the auction is about to begin. Beautiful waiters carried trays from table to table and handed out auction catalogs to the guests, and the theme VCR also started playing on the big screen. The host took the stage to deliver an opening speech, interacted with the guests, and introduced the main guests. Once the interaction is over, the auction will officially begin. A capable, heroic female auctioneer in her 30s stepped onto the auction stage. She introduced herself as Suze Hickshuan, a nationally registered auctioneer who has been in the industry for more than 10 years. The items in this charity auction mainly come from national pavilions such as Belgium and Denmark, and there are many heavyweight items worth more than 10 million yuan. For example, the 27.7-carat Elizabeth Star yellow diamond necklace in the Belgian pavilion. At least 10% of the proceeds from the auction will be used as charity, and the Shanghai Charity Foundation will be the recipient of charitable donations and donated to the recipients. The first auction item is the autographed jersey of a Real Madrid star, with a starting price of 900 yuan. There were not many people competing for this lot. After bidding several times, a young man sitting in the back seat bought it for 3,600 yuan. There is a 5-minute star show between the auctions. After the star's performance is over, the auction continues. The second lot is a lounge chair made of transparent cement bricks in the Italian pavilion. Lots were sold one after another, with 2 celebrity performances interspersed during the period. At such high-end charity auctions, there is no star status at all, they are just there to perform and liven up the atmosphere. After another piece of ancient dragon and phoenix jade was auctioned, the auction came to an end. A beautiful waitress wearing a cheongsam came up carrying an exquisite tray. On the tray was an extremely luxurious diamond necklace. More than 30 diamonds shone brightly under the light, and the largest yellow diamond was even more beautiful. It's close to 10 carats. The last auction tonight is also the most important one, the Elizabeth Star yellow diamond necklace. This necklace is made of 36 diamonds and weighs 27.7 carats. The core yellow diamond is even more heavy. Along with the female auctioneer's explanation, a VCR began to play on the big screen, introducing the origin and production process of the item. The starting price is 18 million, everyone can bid. After the female auctioneer announced the start of the auction, there was silence for a while before a middle-aged man raised a sign. The bid on the 25th is 1,850. A woman in her 20s also held up a sign. The bid on the 18th is 19 million. After several bids, the price of this Elizabeth Star yellow diamond necklace was raised to 23 million. This price has exceeded the market price of this necklace, and there are only 2 people still competing. One is the second-generation daughter of a domestic beverage giant. The one who terminated the high-quality idol contract after 20 years, saying he was too old. The other is the heiress of a domestic real estate giant, who was on the rich list with Li Jie last year and is the youngest female billionaire in the country. At this time, Zhou Ziyu also raised the sign in his hand. 25 million. When she raised her sign, many people nearby looked at her. This is the first time Zhou Ziyu has raised a placard tonight, and she is the most beautiful among the female guests present tonight, much more beautiful than those beautiful female celebrities. The lady on the 9th bid 25 million, does anyone want to increase the price? The second-generation daughter glanced at Zhou Ziyu and raised the sign again, 26 million. The bid on the 37th was 2,600, and another 1 million was added. But the young rich woman hesitated and then gave up. Zhou Ziyu took his time and raised the sign again, 28 million. The lady on the 9th is 2,800, does anyone want to increase the price? The female auctioneer couldn't help but raise her voice. The second-generation daughter glanced at Zhou Ziyu again and was about to raise her sign again, but a man in his early 60s sitting next to her stopped her. The female auctioneer asked twice more if anyone wanted to raise the price. After confirming that no one was raising placards, she slammed the auction hammer hard. Congratulations to Miss Number 9 for winning this auction. The second-generation daughter looked at Josiah with a bit of unwillingness in her eyes. However, Josiah didn't pay attention to the other party. She stood up and prepared to go on stage. For such a heavyweight lot, after the sale is completed, the buyer will have to go on stage to make a speech. Yu Xiangzi, who was sitting aside, took a deep breath in his heart. He bought a necklace for 28 million. Tonight's auction was an eye-opener for him. Purchasing a flashy diamond necklace at a high price of 28 million was not because Josiah didn't feel bad about spending her boyfriend's money, but because Li Jie had ordered her to do so before. Grab a big-ticket item and steal some of the limelight. After the auction ended, Josiah, Zhou Qinlin and other ladies took a photo together, with her standing in the C position. Sui. Xiao Jiao walked out of the cram school classroom with a group of boys and girls. A girl walking next to her asked curiously, "Xiao Jiao, what does your family do?" "Just an ordinary family." The girl listened and showed obvious disbelief. "Can an ordinary family be protected by bodyguards? Can a luxury car be picked up and dropped off every day?" Seeing that the other party didn't believe it, Xiao Jiao explained again, "Really, I am from an ordinary family. My bodyguard and car were all arranged for me by my boyfriend." "So what does your boyfriend do?" "He started a small business." "Small company? Is it a big boss?" When they arrived outside the building, Xiao Jiao said goodbye to the girl and got into a red Maserati Quattroporte with bodyguard Zhou Zheng. "This car is the Maserati that Miao Wenqin drove before." The girl also got into a BMW X3, and she obviously came from a good family. Xiao Jiao leaned on the chair in the back row and took out the kidney machine. No, he took out his iPhone 4 and started chatting. When she opened her moments, she saw a new post from Josiah. In a group photo of ladies, Josiah is sitting in the C seat in the middle, and other ladies are either sitting on either side of her or standing behind her. "The fox is proud again this week." Xiao Jiao muttered softly, his tone a bit disappointed and jealous. Li Jie told her about the charity auction first and asked her if she wanted to go. If she could attend with Li Jie, of course Xiao Jiao would be willing to go, but if she was asked to go alone, she would feel a little scared. As a result, her opportunity was snatched away by Zhou Hu. Had she known this, she would have agreed to go. Beijing. When the movie was over, Li Jie took Shu Sudan and walked out of the screening room together. While watching a movie, after their hands accidentally touched each other, he naturally took Shu Sudan's hand, and Shu Sudan let him hold her hand. Li Jie turned his head and was about to say something when his cell phone rang. After getting on the phone and chatting for a few words, he hung up the phone, and then said to Shu Sudan, Shu, let's find a place to sit." Li Jie took Shu Sudan to a nightclub. The most popular places in Sanlitun are bars and nightclubs. The nightclub that Li Jie brought Shu Sudan to had a very good environment and popularity. Colorful lights, loud music, a rock band performing on the stage, men and women on the dance floor twisting their bodies wantonly and swaying to the rhythm. The atmosphere was extremely exciting. The booths are also nearly full. Li Jie took Shu Sudan to find a free seat and sat down, then ordered 2 glasses of wine. He rarely comes to places like nightclubs, or he comes only a handful of times, and he is not used to this atmosphere. Li Jie picked up the wine and took a sip. Seeing Shu Sudan looking around curiously, he smiled and asked, "Why, you didn't come to the nightclub, did you?" Shu Sudan smiled and hummed, "This is my first time here." Then, she picked up the wine glass and took a sip of wine. After sitting for a while, Li Jie stood up and said, "Come on, let's go dance for a while too." There were many people on the dance floor, and it could be said that they were crowded together. Some men saw that Shu Dan was pure and beautiful, and they deliberately pushed towards her. In order to protect her from being bullied by men with evil intentions, Li Jie could only hold her in his arms and dance with her tightly. This guy has the nerve to say that others have evil intentions, but he has the most evil intentions. After dancing for more than half an hour, they felt a little tired, so Ligia and Shu Sudan returned to the booth to rest. Shu Sudan might be too tired from dancing, so her sweet face turned red. After sitting down, Ligia found that the person next to him had changed. Two girls were drinking and laughing. One of the girls was tall, curvy, very beautiful, and looked like a star. It seems like he really is a star. Ligia glanced at the girl again and felt that she looked familiar, but he couldn't remember which celebrity she was. The two girls also looked at Ligia and the others. The tall and beautiful girl among them was stunned for a moment after seeing Ligia, with a look of confusion on her face. Just then, Ligia's cell phone rang again. After he answered the phone, he stood up and waved in the direction of the door, and saw Lin Xiaoyue walking over with long legs. Lin Xiaoyue learned about Ligia's visit to the capital from Yang Function. When he came to the booth, he noticed that Ligia and Shu Sudan were very close to each other, just like a couple. Lin Xiaoyue's eyes could not help but condense, but it only passed briefly, and he soon returned to normal, smiling and talking to Ligia, said hello and then sat down next to him. After the three chatted for a while, Lin Xiaoyue suggested, "Mr. Li, how about we go dancing for a while?" Ligia nodded and was about to agree. The beautiful girl sitting next to him suddenly stood up and came to him and said enthusiastically, "Are you Mr. Li from Kudong Group?" "Who are you?" Ligia looked at her again, but she felt more familiar, but still didn't remember who the other person was. "I am Yao Xintheng, and I am currently an artist in Fahrenheit." Ligia thought for a while and showed a look of surprise. He finally remembered who the other party was, the heroine of the X-Raiders. She also appeared in Zodiac and was called the Last Dragon Girl. "Yuan Xia, you acted in a movie." Emotional life. Yao Xintheng said with some surprise. "I didn't expect Mr. Li to have seen my play." As she said that, she sat down. Shu Sudan and Lin Xiaoyue looked at each other with strange expressions. "This is too familiar, shameless." Ligia smiled, picked up the wine glass and took a sip. The reason why he had some impression of the movie Love Life was just because Yao Xintheng had a large appearance in the movie. This girl is quite willing to sacrifice herself for the sake of fame, but she is becoming more and more disabled as she gets older. The four of them drank together and chatted. Yao Xintheng also suggested dancing, but this time Ligia declined. At around 10 o'clock in the evening, Ligia left the nightclub with Shu Sudan and the others. After leaving the nightclub and saying goodbye to Lin Xiaoyue and Yao Xintheng, Ligia sent Shu Sudan back to school. However, because he was drunk, he stopped driving the supercar. He gave the keys to the Ferrari to Zhou Chao, and got into the BMW SUV driven by Shen Baishan and the others with Shu Sudan. Sanlitun is not far from Zhongzi. More than 10 minutes later, the BMW SUV stopped next to the school gate of Zhongzi. After getting off the car, Shu Sudan said, "Brother Jie, I'm going back then." "I'll give it to you again," Ligia said. Zhongzi Opera is under closed management and does not allow outside vehicles and people to enter at will, but he can sneak in with Shu Sudan. "Yeah," Shu Sudan said softly, and then the two of them walked into the school one after another. Neither of them spoke during the whole journey until they stopped in front of the girls' dormitory building. "I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn." Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 485. "Brother Jie, I'm in." Shu Sudan turned around and said. "Okay," Ligia smiled and nodded. But just when Shu Sudan turned around and was about to leave, Ligia suddenly reached out and grabbed her arm, pulled her into his arms, and then, under Shu Sudan's astonished eyes, lowered his head and kissed her lips. Shu Sudan's eyes widened instantly, and her hands were a little at a loss. After a few seconds, she reacted, closed her eyes, and responded somewhat passively. The two of them kissed like this downstairs in the dormitory, like no one else was around, attracting the attention of many passing students. The social atmosphere of this era was not as open as it would be 10 years later. There were still relatively few couples making out in public on campus, and they were not so unscrupulous. Some girls pointed and chuckled, and some boys showed an expression as if they had been given away by others after recognizing Shu Sudan. The two kissed for 5 or 6 minutes before Li Jie let go of Shu Sudan and retracted his restless hand. Shu Sudan was like a fish out of water, panting slightly with her mouth open, her eyes moist and full of affection. "Okay, let's go back," Li Jie said with a smile. Shu Sudan responded softly, turned around and walked towards the dormitory, but after walking a few steps, she was reluctant to look back at Li Jie again. Seeing that he was still standing there, watching her with a smile, she smiled at Li Jie too, then turned around and continued walking to the dormitory. Seeing Shu Sudan's back disappearing into the dormitory, Li Jie withdrew his gaze, turned around and walked out of the school. As the saying goes, if things are obtained too easily, there will be no sense of accomplishment. Li Jie now dislikes girls who are too utilitarian and purposeful. He prefers girls like Shu Sudan who are more passive and simple. What's more, girls like Yao Xintheng are already veterans in the entertainment industry. It's not certain who will take advantage of whom. You must know that some female celebrities in the entertainment industry are also good at collecting stamps. As soon as Shu Sudan returned to the dormitory, she was surrounded by her roommates. "Shu, you can do it, just kiss me in front of everyone." "Who is that boy?" "Shu, didn't you say you don't want to have a boyfriend yet?" "Three beautiful girls, you said something to me." The quality of girls from top domestic art schools like China National Theatre, especially those majoring in acting, is very guaranteed. Shu Sudan was a little embarrassed when they questioned her. "I don't want to have a boyfriend too early, but he is different." "What's the difference? Is he particularly handsome, or does he suit your liking?" They had been lying by the window looking downstairs for a long time, but because it was dark at night, they couldn't see the boy's face clearly. "What's the difference?" Shu Sudan was a little confused by the question, and she couldn't figure out what she liked about Li Jie. "And what is the relationship between her and Li Jie?" "Both of them, but he hasn't confessed his feelings to her yet." In the next 2 or 3 days, Li Jie met Zhou Hong'ai, Ding Sanqi, Rebus and others respectively. Zhou Hong'ai gave him the feeling that he was very arrogant, talked and laughed freely, was wanton and public, and was a very strong and aggressive person. Ding Sanqi always has a warm smile on his face and seems amiable and easy to get along with. However, whether it is the charlatanism or the smiling tiger, they are just appearances. None of these internet bosses are simple, especially Ding Sanqi. 10 years later, Beidou, Xinlang, and Sohu gradually fell out of the first-tier echelons, and 360 also fell silent. On the contrary, Internet Yi's prospects continued to improve, and it became one of the 9 giants of the Internet. What's more, Ding Sanqi has a cutting-edge vision. He is an Internet company and has been involved in the pig industry since 2009. He is sure that agriculture will become a hot topic in the future. Of course, this is just a joke. On November 20th, under the leadership of Rebus, Li Jie had a meal with Zhou Hong'ai, Ding Sanqi, Charles Cao, Charles Zhang and others. After the meal, the 6 of them took a group photo together. Charles Zhang, the oldest, stood in the C position, Ding Sanqi and Charles Cao stood on both sides, and Li Jie, the youngest, stood at the edge. The photo quickly went viral. The gathering was also known online as the Anti-Penguin Alliance Gathering. However, a few years later, this gathering was known online as the first dinner party for Internet tycoons. In fact, the purpose of Li Jie's trip to the capital was not achieved. Kudong Group, 360, Xinlang, Sohu, and Yi each have their own interests, and it is impossible to truly unite. Xinlang, Sohu, and Yi all started as portal websites, and there has always been competition. The main businesses of Wanji and Kudong Group are games, and they are also competitors with each other. And Zhou Hongyi, who went to war everywhere and made countless enemies, didn't even have a good relationship with anyone. Everyone just formed a circle and cooperated to a limited extent. On November 21st, just as Li Jie was about to leave Beijing and return to Shanghai, he suddenly received a call from his mother. Luanzhou, Yangji District, Sanli Village. Li Jie's cousin Cheng Shuang is sitting in front of the computer playing Audition of Penguins, and his little cousin Cheng Qian is doing homework. Cheng Qian is 6 years younger than her sister Cheng Shuang and 8 years younger than Li Jie. She is in the 3rd grade of junior high school this year and will take the high school entrance examination next year. Li Jie's 4th aunt came into the house and found her eldest daughter playing games again. She said angrily, "Have fun, you have been playing games all day long. If I had known this, I wouldn't have let you buy this computer." In this era, there were still relatively few computers in rural areas. Cheng Shuang and Li Jie's 4th uncle encouraged them to buy this computer. Cheng Shuang wants to chat and play games online. My 4th uncle likes playing cards and wants to play cards with others online. I'm not off work, I just want to play for a while, Cheng Shuang muttered. She dropped out of junior high school, learned tailoring, worked in a small garment factory, and is now responsible for stickers in a small furniture factory. You are great at work? You don't know how to help when you get home, the 4th aunt scolded her eldest daughter again. In fact, girls in rural areas generally get married relatively early. Those who have not been admitted to college or work outside the home usually get married in their 20s, and many get married at the age of 16 or 17. In rural areas, they don't care about the legal age. As long as they have a banquet, they are considered married. In some remote areas in the south, some girls get married at the age of 14 or 15. Cheng Shuang is already 22 years old this year and should have gone on a blind date and got married long ago. It's just that she is fatter and average looking, and she has been on a blind date several times without success. However, this is not a big problem, just a few more kisses will be fine. In rural areas, girls don't have to worry about getting married. Cheng Shuang thought of something and said to her mother, "Mom, why don't you also tell my aunt and let me work in my second brother's company?" On November this year, when Yao Li was on vacation, her second aunt came over with her daughter to show off and talked about Yao Li's part-time job at Li Jie Company. He said that the company is quite large and the benefits are also very good. Cheng Shuang listened beside him and couldn't help but feel a little moved in his heart. She had a better relationship with her second brother, Li Jie, when she was a child. Yao Li can work in her second brother's company, why can't she go? Currently, only her second cousin Yao Li knows that Li Jie is worth tens of billions, but for some reason, she has not spread the word to the outside world, not even to her mother, Li Jie's second aunt. That is to say, I had revealed something to my sister Yao Wan before. Li Jie's 4th aunt, 3rd aunt, and aunt just heard from Li Jie's mother that Li Jie had opened a game company, which was quite large and could earn tens of millions a year. Even if Yao Li hadn't confirmed it, they would have thought that Li's mother was bragging. A student who is still in school can just write books and make some money. Just open a company and you can make tens of millions in a year. How is this possible? For rural people, someone who can earn tens of millions a year is a big boss. Xiao Li is a top student at a key university. What can you do if you go? Said the 4th aunt disapprovingly. I can also be a clerk, Cheng Shuang said unconvinced. Be a clerk? Can you do it? I don't know how to learn. Didn't Yao Li just make copies of documents and make forms? What's so difficult about that? After being convinced that Li Zhejian had become the big boss, the 4th aunt didn't think about taking advantage of it. But it is Li Jie who is rich, not Li's mother. Can I count on my nephew? What's more, Li Jie has not been close to her since childhood. At this time, the fourth uncle hurriedly walked in from outside. When her husband came back, the fourth aunt was a little surprised. Didn't you say you were going to play cards? Why are you back so soon? Why don't you guys stop playing? No, they are still playing. I'll be back first. The fourth uncle paused and said with a strange expression, while we were playing cards, Zheng Lisheng, the eldest son of the old Zheng family, told me something. What did he say? He said he saw on the internet that a new young rich man named Li Jie had recently appeared, and asked me if he could be Ziyajie, Li Jie. Li Jie is now very famous in the village. He published a book to make money when he just entered college, and he also got a girlfriend who is as beautiful as a big star. Later I heard that I could make a lot of money by starting a company. The fourth aunt was stunned for a moment, and then said, a rich man? How rich a rich man? When Cheng Shuang heard this, he stopped playing the game and turned his head to look over. And Cheng Qian stopped doing her homework. It's more than 20 billion, or something, the youngest billionaire in the world, the fourth uncle said in an uncertain tone. More than 20 billion? Impossible. When the fourth aunt heard this, she immediately shook her head. How long has Li Jie's company been open? It's only been 2 or 3 years. It's an exaggeration to say it makes tens of millions a year. He must have the same name. I don't think it's possible either. The fourth uncle sat down on the edge of the Kong, took out a cigarette from his trouser pocket, lit it, and took a puff. But Ziyajie is also very powerful. He is writing a book and starting a company. He has not graduated from college yet, and he can make tens of millions a year. There was emotion in his tone. The fourth aunt listened and said nothing. She has always disliked her eldest sister's sons, especially Li Jie. Cheng Shuang suddenly interjected, didn't Zheng Liman say that he saw the news on the internet? Can't we find out by checking it on the internet? After hearing this, the fourth uncle suddenly slapped his thigh as if he had reacted, that's right. You can find out if you check it online. Xiao Shuang, please check it quickly. With that said, he got up and came to the computer. Cheng Qian followed and ran to the computer. The fourth aunt hesitated for a moment, then got up and walked over. Under the watchful eyes of his fourth aunt, fourth uncle, and Cheng Qian, Cheng Shuang closed the game, opened the browser, and searched for the youngest billionaire Li Jie. After clicking the search button, a lot of news popped up. The new rich list was released, and the world's youngest billionaire was born at the age of 23, with a net worth of 27.6 billion. Kudong Group released Kakao, and Li Jie intends to enter the instant messaging market to challenge Penguin. Li Jie is the richest post-80s generation in the world. How did the youngest billionaire Li Jie make his fortune? I'll just say they have the same name. Looking at these news headlines, the fourth aunt showed a true expression. She really couldn't connect the dazzling business genius and the youngest billionaire in these news with her nephew Li Jie. Xiao Shuang, please click on this news first, the fourth uncle pointed out. How did the youngest billionaire Li Jie make his fortune? That news. Okay, Cheng Qian used the mouse to click on the news. Introduction, he is my country's youngest business genius and a giant of the times. At the age of 23, he had a net worth of 27.6 billion, making him the youngest billionaire in the world. In 2007, Li Jie was admitted to Hongchen Normal School and then started writing novels online. He used the money he earned from writing novels to found his first company, Qwen Technology, to make low-cost web games. Looking at the content on the news, the expressions of the fourth aunt, fourth uncle, and Cheng Shuang became more and more surprised and unbelievable, and finally they all became stunned. My second brother turned out to be a billionaire, Cheng Shuang exclaimed in surprise, his excitement uncontrollable. Cheng Qian's face was also full of excitement and surprise. The fourth aunt and fourth uncle finally came back to their senses and looked at each other with shock and disbelief in their eyes. This is just like when you suddenly heard from your parents that there is an uncle named Jack Ma in the family, and he opened a company called Ali. The shock and surprise in my heart are really indescribable. It's really, Zyajie, the fourth uncle said in a dry voice. Let's look at other news. Fourth aunt was still a little unbelievable. Yes, let's look at other news. The fourth uncle took the mouse from the eldest daughter's hand and clicked on the news one by one to read. After reading 5 or 6 more pieces of news, the fourth aunt completely believed that her nephew had become a top rich man with a net worth of 276, ranking 13th on the rich list. Dad, Mom, my second brother is so rich, why should I work? Cheng Shuang said excitedly. She only had one thought in her mind: if I have such a powerful cousin, wouldn't it be okay to lie down? How can I earn more than 2,000 yuan a month after working so hard like now? What are you doing if you don't go to work? Your elder brother, Li Zhepeng, is still working in the factory. The fourth uncle gave his eldest daughter a lesson. He was also in a mess and couldn't calm down. Hearing what her husband said, the fourth aunt seemed to have thought of something and said, Lao Cheng, do you think eldest sister knows about this? I probably don't know, otherwise Zhepeng would still be working in the factory. That's right, fourth aunt nodded. Xiaozhe hid it so well that he even hid it from his family. After she became convinced that Li Zhe had become a billionaire, she changed her name to Zyajie. What do you think Zyajie is doing to make so much money? Didn't it say in the news that we should do the internet? Is this how you can make money, by doing the internet? Ask me, how do I understand this? It's very profitable to make games. That penguin company made its fortune by making games, Cheng Shuang added. Lao Cheng, why don't we go see eldest sister tomorrow? Fourth aunt said suddenly. The year before last, Li's mother had moved out from her fourth sister's house and rented a house with better conditions in the village, just to avoid having no place to live like the last time when Li Zhe brought his girlfriend back for the new year. But Li Zhe never came back to celebrate the new year. The fourth uncle listened and nodded. Well, it's time to go see the eldest sister. Let's bring a bag of rice, a bag of noodles, and a barrel of oil. Xiaozhe is so rich, what else does eldest sister still need? Different. That night, the fourth aunt, fourth uncle, and their family couldn't sleep all night. Lao Cheng, you said Zyajie is so rich, 2 or 3 million is not too much for me, right? Fourth aunt said suddenly. It's hard to say. The fourth uncle took out a cigarette and lit it. Are you still smoking in the middle of the night? The fourth aunt said, a little dissatisfied. Why is it so hard to tell? Zyajie already has 20 to 30 billion. What does 2 to 3 million mean to him? The fourth uncle took a deep breath of cigarette and said nothing. He is not as optimistic as his wife thinks. If they had a good relationship with their nephew Li Zhe, they would definitely get some credit. But as elders for so many years, they haven't even given him a red envelope. Even when Li Zhe came to stay at home for a few days when he was a child, his wife didn't give him a good face. Now that people are prosperous, it is not so easy to take advantage of them. What's more, Li Zhe has such a big career, but he still keeps it secret from his family. This approach is very revealing. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 486. Early the next morning, Cheng Shuang and Cheng Qian, who lived in the west room, got up and broke in, waking up their fourth aunt and uncle who had fallen asleep just before dawn. After the family of 4 washed up and had a simple breakfast, the fourth uncle took a bag of rice, a bag of noodles, and a large bucket of oil and put them on a wheelbarrow. Then he pushed the trolley and the family of 4 went out together and headed to Mother Li's residence. Walking on the road, people from the village will take the initiative to say hello from time to time. Brother, sister-in-law, are you going to see your eldest sister again with your things? My eldest sister lives alone. As a younger sister, I must help out more, the fourth aunt responded with a smile. I heard that Zyaj's kid has become a big boss now that he's successful. You, the aunt, will take advantage of it in the future. Hey, as long as the child is successful, we don't want to take advantage of him. The house that Lee's mother rents is not far from the fourth aunt and uncle's house, and it takes less than 5 minutes to walk there. The house is a large tiled room with 3 rooms, and a small courtyard measuring 3/3/7 cm. The courtyard walls are also covered with tiles, which looks quite impressive. The annual rent for such a house is only 1,000 yuan. Lee's mother would never have been able to rent such a good and cheap house before, but after the news that Li Jie had published a book and made money and became a writer spread to everyone in the village, she was able to rent it. This is the reality. If you get along well, your connections will naturally come to you, and many people will be willing to help you. Cheng Shuang rushed forward and locked the door. Auntie, we are here. Wait a minute, it's coming, soon, a male voice came from the yard. Along with the sound of footsteps, the small door on the main door was opened, and Li Jie's brother Li Zhepeng poked his head out from inside. Xiao Shuang, fourth aunt and fourth uncle, you are all here. Brother, X2. Cheng Shuang and Cheng Qian smiled and said hello to Li Zhepeng. Zhepeng, is your mother at home? The fourth uncle said to Li Zhepeng. I'm at home, fourth aunt, fourth uncle, please come in quickly. As Li Zhepeng spoke, he pulled the latch and opened the door so that his fourth uncle could push the trolley in. The fourth uncle pushed the trolley into the yard and looked around. He saw that the vegetable patch in the yard had been neatly tidied up, with green cabbages growing there. November is the time to harvest Chinese cabbage in the north. Sister, you are so diligent. Yes, the eldest sister is very good at everything she does, the fourth aunt also agreed. The fourth uncle turned to Li Zhepeng and said, Zhepeng, when did you come back? Didn't Xiaofei come over? I came back yesterday morning, and Xiaofei came back with me. Are you still working in that factory? Yes, I'm still working there. Li Zhepeng looked a little unnatural. His brother has become a rich man worth 20 to 30 billion yuan, but he is still working hard in the factory to earn 2,000 to 3,000 yuan. This feeling of disparity is simply indescribable. Li Zhepeng also learned on the internet that Li Jie had become a billionaire. He was shocked, surprised, and excited to the extreme. He quickly asked for leave and rushed back with his daughter-in-law Hanfei to tell his mother the news. In his heart, he was very dissatisfied and complained about his younger brother Li Jie. He had so much money and became a well-known rich man in the country, but he still kept it secret from his family and did not help him at all. Li Jie is already worth 20 to 30 billion, is it okay to give his brother a few million? That means he has less money to buy a luxury car. It is said on the internet that one of his villas is worth more than 200 million, and his life is extremely luxurious. When Li Jie was young, he took him with him, and even played with him frequently and bought him delicious food. How could he forget his roots so much? At this time, Li's mother also came out of the house, and her eldest daughter-in-law Hanfei followed her. Seeing the rice, flour, grains, and oil on the trolley, she couldn't help but said, "You don't have to send food all the time. I can't eat much food by myself." A few days ago, Li Jie's second aunt just delivered a bag of noodles, a large bag of peanuts, and a barrel of oil. In the past 2 or 3 years, Li's mother has lived a very comfortable life in the village. Her eldest son got married and started a family, and her second son has a successful career. After the news spread in the village that Li Jie had made a lot of money by opening a company, she became the envy and compliment of everyone in the village. Several younger brothers and sisters also changed from their ruthless attitude of never coming to the house. They often came over with their belongings to inquire after her, showing great concern for her eldest sister. Mother Li felt as if she had gone back to more than 30 years ago, when she was still doing carpentry work in the northeast and would send a large sum of money to her family every year. Her parents value her very much, and her younger siblings are also very close to her. Especially my little sister, she always sleeps with her whenever she comes home during the Chinese New Year. As time went by, Li's mother's dissatisfaction and resentment towards her younger brothers and sisters gradually faded away, and the relationship between them also eased a lot. The fourth aunt and fourth uncle's family walked into the house under the warm greetings of Mother Li and Li's Hepeng, and then found that the kitchen in the outhouse had prepared a lot of ingredients, including chicken, duck, fish, seafood, and even a large turtle. "Sister, are there guests at home?" fourth aunt couldn't help but ask. "Xiaozhe is coming back today," Li's Hepeng said with a smile. After hearing this, the fourth aunt and the fourth aunt looked at each other with surprise on their faces. Cheng Shuang and Cheng Qian's faces were also full of joy. Mother Li smiled and said, "Don't leave at noon, stay for dinner." The fourth aunt and uncle declined for a few words and then agreed. Mother Li asked Li's Hepeng and Han Fei to wash the fruits, brought some melon seeds and sugar, and then everyone sat together eating and chatting. When it was almost 10 o'clock, Li's mother got up and prepared to cook. Fourth aunt quickly got up and offered to help. Mother Li and Li's Hepeng looked at each other and felt that the fourth aunt and fourth uncle's family were a little too enthusiastic today. At this time, there was a sudden knock on the door. "My second brother must be back," Cheng Shuang shouted in surprise and hurriedly ran to open the door. However, when she opened the door, she found that it was not Li Jie who came, but her aunt and her son Shen Peng. "Auntie, my aunt and Shen Peng are here." "Xiao Shuang, you are here too," my aunt said with a warm smile. She is the best at showing off. However, Shen Peng only glanced at Cheng Shuang and didn't even call her sister. Hearing Cheng Shuang's shout, Li's mother, fourth aunt, and fourth uncle all came out of the house. Eldest sister, and fourth brother-in-law, my aunt greeted Mother Li and the others with a smile. Then she ordered her son, Peng Peng, "Call someone quickly." "Auntie, fourth aunt, fourth uncle," Shen Peng said obediently. "This kid Peng Peng looks like he has a lot of potential. Peng Peng is also in his senior year of high school this year, right? He was in his senior year of high school last year, but he didn't do well in the college entrance examination this year. He only passed 3 exams. He didn't want to leave, so he repeated the exam." The aunt paused and then said with a smile, "Peng Peng said he wanted to apply for a university in Shanghai and go find his cousin. Shen Peng is 3 years younger than Cheng Shuang and 5 years younger than Li Jie, but he went to school early. However, if nothing else goes wrong, he will have to repeat his studies for another year next year before he is admitted to an ordinary first-tier university." Not only Shen Peng, but Yao Li also repeated her studies for a year before being admitted to Jinling University. The educational resources that children in rural areas and small cities can enjoy are far less than those in big cities. If you don't have extraordinary IQ, you can only rely on time or hard work to get into a good university. Makeup. Mother Li glanced at the things in her little sister's hands and said, "I wish you were here. What else do you need to bring?" "I just bought something casually, it's not worth much," my aunt said with a smile. She was really not modest. She just bought a plastic bag of grapes. Grapes are the cheapest in the season. However, if she knew that Li Jie had become a top rich man with a net worth of 20 to 30 billion, she would definitely not be reluctant to give up money and only buy a bag of grapes to fool people. After chatting for a few words, everyone returned to the house together. After hearing that Li Jie was coming back today, my aunt was also very surprised and pleasantly surprised, and she was busy cooking together with Li's mother and fourth aunt. Even Han Fei was helping out. Before 12 o'clock, the meal was almost ready, but Li Jie hadn't come back yet. Mother Li, her fourth aunt, her fourth uncle, and her aunt continued to wait while chatting, but they waited until almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon and still did not see Li Jie come back. Mother Li looked at the time and said a little embarrassedly, "Why hasn't Xiaozhe come back yet? Why don't we stop waiting for him and eat first?" "Sister, Please wait a little longer, there's no rush, said the fourth uncle. Yes, let's wait until Zyajah comes back to eat together, fourth aunt also said quickly. The aunt looked at her fourth sister and fourth brother-in-law in surprise, feeling that their attitude today was very wrong. At this moment, the sound of a car suddenly came from outside the gate, and there was more than one car. My second brother must be back this time, Cheng Shuang hurriedly ran out again. The aunt winked at her son, and after Shen Peng reacted, he quickly ran out. Cheng Shuang came to the gate. As soon as he opened the small door, he saw an elegant and luxurious extended black Audi sedan and a white BMW SUV parked in front of the door. A tall, elegant, beautiful, and fashionable girl opened the door of the back seat of the Audi and got out of the car first. She then walked around to the other side of the car and pulled the door open. Then Li Jie, dressed casually, calmly walked out of the car. 4 or 5 men and women dressed in black suits and bodyguards got out of the 2 cars one after another. They opened the trunks of the cars and began to take things out one by one. There are boxes and boxes of high-end fruits, specialty pastries, cooked food, high-end clothing, electronic products, etc. Seeing this scene, Cheng Shuang was a little shocked. It wasn't until Shen Peng, who caught up from behind, called out second brother, that she realized and quickly followed suit. Li Jie nodded to Cheng Shuang first, then turned to look at Shen Peng. Are you Peng Peng? He had met Shen Peng a few times when he was a child, and he no longer remembered what he looked like, but he had 4 aunts and 1 uncle, and he was the only aunt who had a boy. Second brother, I am Shen Peng said politely and affectionately. This guy is a genius at first glance, Li Jie commented in his heart. It is true that like mother, like son, his aunt is hypocritical and sweet in words, but she is full of calculations in her heart. However, the reality is that such people are often more likely to get ahead in society, and are more favored by their parents even at home. Li Jie also nodded to Shen Peng, and then walked into the courtyard. Zhang Wenjun followed closely behind him, and Shen Baishan, Zhou Chao and Xu Mei walked behind carrying gifts. At this time, Li's mother, fourth aunt, fourth uncle, and aunt also came out of the house. Xiaojie, you're back. Seeing Li Jie walk in, the fourth aunt and fourth uncle greeted him enthusiastically. Xiaojie, you are so promising. You have become a big boss. From now on, your mother will enjoy the blessings with you, my aunt said with a warm smile. She is the best at talking. Fourth aunt, fourth uncle, little aunt. Li Jie said hello one by one, and then said to his mother, Mom, I'm back. Mother Li smiled and nodded, focusing on Zhang Wenjun behind him. Who is this? She knew that her second son had found 2 beautiful girlfriends, and she was worried about this matter. She was really afraid that he would get another one this time. This is my secretary Zhang Wenjun. Li Jie turned to look at Zhang Wenjun and introduced. Zhang Wenjun quickly greeted Mother Li respectfully, Hello, Aunt. I am Mr. Li's secretary Zhang Wenjun. You can call me Wenjun or Xiajun. Hello, Xiajun. Mother Li looked at Zhang Wenjun and couldn't help but murmur in her heart. Her second son's secretary is too pretty, right? Is he really a serious secretary? Who are these? She looked at Shen Baishan, Zhou Chao and others behind her. They are all my bodyguards. The aunt looked at Shen Baishan, Zhou Chao, Xu Mei and the others and felt more and more something was wrong. Even if Li Jie can really earn tens of millions a year, there is no need to hire 5 bodyguards, right? This scene is too big. Everyone, please come in quickly. Mother Li greeted Zhang Wenjun and the others enthusiastically. After entering the house, Shen Baishan and Zhou Chao put the things they were carrying on the ground, and then went to the car outside to get their things. It took 2 or 3 trips like this before I moved everything in. Xiaojie, why did you buy so many things? Mother Li couldn't help but said as she looked at the things on the floor. It's rare for me to come back, so I brought some small gifts for everyone, Li Jie said, his eyes scanning the fourth aunt, fourth uncle, aunt, Li Zhepeng, and Han Fei. A box of high-end fruits, a box of specialty pastries and cooked food, a few pieces of big-name clothes, and an Apple iPhone 4 or laptop were the gifts he prepared for his cheap relatives. The most uncomfortable thing is not that you don't get anything at all, but that you taste a little bit of sweetness and then never get it again. Seeing that Shen Baishan, Zhou Chao and the others had finished moving their things and were about to leave, Mother Li stopped them and said, "You haven't eaten yet, why don't we have something together?" Shen Baishan and the others quickly declined and said they had already eaten. "Mom, you don't have to worry about them, there's food in the car," Li Jie said with a smile. After hearing this, Mother Li was no longer polite. She didn't expect that Li Jie would bring so many people back, so she didn't prepare so many meals. Everyone returned to the back room and chatted for a few more words. Mother Li got up and went to heat the dishes. The fourth aunt and the younger aunt also got up and went to help. At this time, Han Fei, who was sitting next to Li Zhepeng, nudged him with her elbow. Li Zhepeng glanced at his wife, then smiled and said to Li Jie, "Brother, you are so awesome. You have only started your business 2 or 3 years ago." At this point, he glanced at his fourth uncle, Cheng Shuang, and Shen Peng, paused, and then continued, "If your career has grown so big, my family will all depend on you in the future." After hearing this, Li Jie just smiled and did not answer. "Second brother, how about I go work for you too?" Cheng Shuang said in a joking tone. "Of course you can come if you want, but you girls don't want to be too far away from home, right?" Li Jie declined. Cheng Shuang wanted to say something more, but her fourth uncle winked at her, then changed the subject with a smile. "By the way, Ziaji, why didn't you bring Xiao Zhou here this time? I am on a business trip to the capital this time. I came home for a visit, but I didn't take her with me." Zhang Wenjun sat aside and watched Li Jie deal with his relatives, feeling indescribable admiration in his heart. There have been rumors in the company that Li Jie's family has a rich background, otherwise it would not have been possible for him to become one of the richest people in the country in 2 or 3 years. Zhang Wenjun naturally thought so too. But now it seems that Li Jie's family conditions are even better than hers. For a boy from an ordinary family to achieve such an achievement today, it can only be said that he is a true business genius and a giant of the times, as evaluated by the media. What a business genius and a giant of the times. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 487. Soon the dishes were heated up and put on the table. Everyone took their seats. After some concessions, Mother Li sat down at the head table. She originally wanted to serve it later, and there were still a few dishes that were not finished, but her fourth aunt and fourth uncle would not let her do the work again. They pulled her to sit down at the main table, and the fourth aunt took the initiative to do the work. He took it over. Mother Li looked at Li Jie and Zhang Wenjun sitting on her left, and then at Li Zhepeng and Han Fei sitting on her right, feeling indescribably proud. In the past, when relatives ate together, she could only sit on the side and be responsible for cooking and serving food. "You're all welcome, hurry up and eat." Seeing that her fourth uncle, aunt, Cheng Shuang, and Shen Peng didn't move their chopsticks, she greeted her warmly. Li Jie also smiled and said, "Yes, everyone is welcome." As he spoke, he put a piece of elbow into Cheng Qian's bowl. She had been looking at the meat longingly. The fourth uncle, aunt, and others started to use their chopsticks. The aunt glanced at Li Jie, then winked at her son, "Peng Peng, give your second brother a drink." After hearing this, Shen Peng quickly picked up the wine glass and said enthusiastically, "Second brother, I respect you, you are my role model." Li Jie smiled, picked up the wine glass, touched it to him, and took a sip. As soon as Shen Peng finished his toast, Cheng Shuang raised his glass again. Second brother, I'll toast you too. Li Zhepeng and Han Fei followed closely and toasted Li Jie. Brother, Xiaofei, and I also toast to you. I wish your career will get better and better, and our family will get better and better. After Li Zhepeng and Han Fei finished toasting, the fourth uncle also raised his glass, but instead of toasting Li Jie, he said to Mother Li, "Sister, I toast you." The aunt also quickly raised her wine glass and said with a smile, "Sister, I want to toast you too." After a round of toasts, the atmosphere at the dinner table gradually became warm. The fourth uncle, Li Zhepeng, Han Fei, and others talked to each other, asking about Li Jie's entrepreneurial experience and company affairs. His aunt and Shen Peng were full of compliments and praises for him. But Li's mother focused on Zhang Wenjun next to Li Jie. "Xiajun, where are you from?" "Auntie, I'm from Zhejiang province." Zhang Wenjun put down his chopsticks and said respectfully. "Zhejiang province is a good place, so which school did you graduate from?" "I graduated from Shanghai International Studies University." "That's a good university. In fact, except for the two top universities, Yan University and Shuimu, Li's mother couldn't tell the quality of other universities at all." "Yes, he is a top student," the fourth uncle and aunt also agreed. Zhang Wenjun smiled and said, "I am not considered a top student. There are also many people in the company who have studied at Yanda, Shuimu, and other famous foreign universities. They all work for Mr. Li," she said and glanced at Li Jie. My aunt couldn't help but ask, "Xiaji, how big is your company?" "Yanda, Shuimu, and the top students who returned from studying abroad all want to work for Li Jie? Isn't this bragging?" "The scale is pretty good in the industry," Li Jie said lightly. Cheng Shuang couldn't help but reveal, "My second brother is already a rich man on the rich list." As soon as she said these words, her aunt and her son Shen Peng were stunned. They looked at Li Jie in confusion and disbelief. Mother Li, Li Zhepeng, and Han Fei looked at each other and understood why the fourth aunt, fourth uncle, and their family were so enthusiastic this time. The expressions of the fourth uncle and the fourth aunt who had just come in with a basin of turtle soup changed slightly, and they glared at the eldest daughter, Cheng Shuang, blaming her for talking too much. "Xiaji, is what Xiao Shuang said true?" the aunt said with some doubt. "She doesn't know anything about the rich list, so she takes it for granted that to be on the rich list, she must have hundreds of millions of assets, right? But how old is Li Jike? How is it possible to become a billionaire before graduating from college? For many rural people, a person with assets of tens of millions is already a big boss, and assets of hundreds of millions are a bit beyond imagination. I have some wealth, but it's nothing. There are many rich people secretly in the country," Li Jie said nonchalantly. Cheng Shuang turned to Mother Li and said, "Auntie, how about I also go to work in my second brother's company? I can do anything." The fourth aunt also said, "Xiao Jie, how about you find a job for Xiao Shuang and just give her some money?" Mother Li looked at her second son with questioning eyes. "Xiao Jie, if possible, can you help Xiao Shuang make arrangements?" Just as Li Jie was about to say something, there was another knock on the door. "Who is here?" Li Zhepeng said. "I'm going to open the door and have a look." Fourth aunt got up and went to open the door. After a while, the fourth aunt's warm greeting came from the yard. A middle-aged man in his 40s who looked quite amiable, carrying a box of milk, a bag of fruit, and 2 boxes of high-end nutritional supplements, walked in behind the fourth aunt. After seeing each other, fourth uncle, Li's mother, and Li Zhepeng all stood up quickly. "Jian, you're here," the fourth uncle said enthusiastically. "Second brother, fourth uncle, I'm here to see my eldest sister." The man in the middle smiled and finished speaking, then turned to Mother Li and said enthusiastically, "Sister, I'm so sorry, I just came to see you today, I should have come a long time ago." The fourth aunt introduced Li Jie. "Xiao Jie, this is your uncle's son, Sunzian, the head of the 3rd Brigade of our village. Sanli village is divided into 3 brigades, that is, 3 villages. Li's mother, 4th aunt, and 4th uncle are all from the 2nd village, but Sun's Higuo is the village chief of the 3rd village. As soon as Li Jie heard this, he knew who the other party was. This Sunzian is also considered a legend in San Lizuang village. He was very aggressive when he was young. Later, when doing business in the plate market, he even bullied and dominated the market. He defaulted on payments from suppliers and beat away anyone who dared to ask for money. By doing business without capital, he quickly made a lot of money and became a wealthy man in the village. However, one time he encountered a difficult situation. The 2 sides fought in the plate market and almost killed someone. Sunzian was sentenced to 5 or 6 years for intentionally injuring others during a fight and causing serious injuries to others. He also lost the money he earned and even ran away with his wife. After being imprisoned for 5 or 6 years, Sunzian was no longer so aggressive, and became more diplomatic after he was released. At this time, heating hoods were popular in Luanzhou City, so Sunzian borrowed 3,000 yuan and hired a few carpenters to build a heating hood in his yard. Catching up with a good opportunity, in just 2 or 3 years, Sunzian's carpentry team grew from 2 or 3 people to more than 30 people, earning 300,000 to 400,000 yuan, and married a young and beautiful daughter-in-law. This was only in 2001 and 2002, and you could buy a very good house in Beijing or Shanghai with 3 to 400,000. After running a small factory for 5 or 6 years and earning a net worth of millions, Sunzian once again considered running for village chief when he saw that heating hoods were no longer popular. By paying out benefits to the villagers out of his own pocket, 50 yuan per family, he successfully won the support of most villagers and was elected as the village head of the 3rd Brigade. After becoming the village chief, Sun Jian attracted companies to settle in the village, sold land and built small property houses, and managed the entire 3 villages in a prosperous manner. He became the richest among the 3 villages. He also earned tens of millions of net worth, which was considered the best in the local area. Number 1. However, at this point in time, Sunzian should have just become the village chief, and he still only has a net worth of 1 million. After greeting Mother Li, Sunzian extended his hand to Li Jie enthusiastically. "Hello, Mr. Li, I am Sunzian." "Hello, village chief son." Li Jie also smiled and stretched out his hand to shake it. "Mr. Li, you are really young and promising. You have achieved such success in your career at such a young age." Sunzian just heard that Li Jie was back, so he came over to meet him and form a good relationship. But after seeing the extended version of the Audi A8L and several capable bodyguards such as Shen Baishan and Zhou Chao, he suddenly began to pay more attention to Li Jie. This is not what a boss with a net worth of tens of millions should have. "Jian, why don't you stay and have dinner together?" Mother Li greeted warmly. Back then, Li Jie's brother Li Zhepeng worked in Sunzian's factory for a period of time, and the 2 parties had some contact. However, when Sunzian saw Li's mother, he would just nod and say hello, and he would not be as enthusiastic as he is now. "Okay, then I'm not polite. I also want to communicate and learn more with a successful young man like Mr. Li." Sunzian agreed immediately. After Sunzian took his seat, he started chatting with Li Jie, inquiring about his situation. The 4th aunt, 4th uncle, and Li Zhepeng could only occasionally interject a word. After the 2 chatted for a while, Li Jie said as if he remembered something, "By the way, village chief son, could you please help me approve a larger house number, homestead? I want to build one for my mother, a nicer house. The old man is getting older. He has fallen leaves and returned to his hometown, but he doesn't even have a place to live. It's not a problem to keep renting like this." "Mr. Li, don't worry, this matter will be taken care of by me," Sunzian said generously. Even though Sunzian is just a village chief, he is not even a civil servant. People with criminal records cannot be civil servants. But in the village, Sun Xian is a real powerful figure, and approving a good homestead is just a matter of words for him. Okay, I'll trouble you, village chief. Sunday Li Jie picked up the wine glass and toasted the other party with a glass of wine. Mr. Li, you are too polite. The eldest sister is originally from our village. As the village chief, I have the obligation to help the villagers solve their difficulties. Otherwise, why would everyone choose me as the village chief? Sun Xian said with a smile. Why did you choose to be the village chief? Of course it's because you provide welfare to the whole village, 50 yuan per family. The meal lasted until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. After finishing the meal, Sun Xian sat for a while before getting up and leaving. Li Jie, Li's mother, fourth uncle, and the others sent each other outside the gate. After Sun Xian got into a black Passat and left, Li Jie and Li's mother walked back together. When she came to the door of the house, Mother Li asked her fourth aunt and uncle to go in first, but she stopped Li Jie. The two walked to the corner. Mother Li looked at Li Jie and asked hesitantly, Xiao Jie, is it true that you have more than 20 billion in assets as said on the internet? After hearing Li Zhepeng say that Li Jie had assets of 27.6 billion and became one of the richest people in the country, her first reaction was that it was impossible. She didn't believe it at all and thought he was talking nonsense. It wasn't until Li Zhepeng found a lot of relevant news about Li Jie on the internet and showed her one by one that Li's mother was dubious, but still didn't dare to believe it completely. She immediately called Li Jie to ask him to confirm the matter. But on the phone, Li Jie gave an ambiguous answer, neither admitting nor denying it. He just said that he would come back and talk to her face to face. More than 20 billion is just the company's valuation. Valuation is very fictitious. In fact, there is not that much money. Li Jie shook his head lightly and said. How many are there? 40 to 5 billion. Mother Li couldn't help but take a breath, feeling completely stunned. 40 to 5 billion and more than 20 billion didn't make much difference to her, both were completely beyond her imagination. After a while, Mother Li realized what she was doing and took a deep breath. Xiao Jie, haven't you only started your business for 2 or 3 years, how can you make so much money? In less than 3 years, he has earned 40 to 500 million yuan. On average, he earns more than 100 million yuan a month. A monthly income of over 100 million yuan? When Li Jie told her that he could earn 10,000 to 20,000 yuan a month from writing books, she was surprised. But now that he is earning over 100 million yuan a month, she feels a little scared. Li Jie didn't explain it carefully, and even if he explained it, his mother wouldn't understand it. He just smiled and said, making money is like a snowball, getting bigger and bigger. It's hard to do anything if you don't have money, but when you have capital, it will be easy to make money again. Just like if you have 100 million, even if you do nothing and save it in the bank to earn interest, you will still have an income of at least 4 million a year, but most ordinary people will not earn 4 million in a lifetime. Xiao Jie, you haven't done anything illegal, right? I heard that many rich people have dirty money, Mother Li said with some worry. Li Jie said a little funny, Mom, don't worry, if my money is not clean, then few people in business will be clean. That's good, Mother Li felt relieved after hearing this. Xiao Jie, let me tell you, you must never do anything illegal, otherwise no matter how much money you have, it will be useless if something happens. I never thought about how much money you two could make. As long as you can have enough food and clothing, you will be safe for the rest of your life. Li Jie just smiled and did not answer. It is easy to say the word sufficiency in food and clothing, but few people can actually achieve it. As his mother understood, being busy all day long, earning a meager income, and barely maintaining food and clothing was not a matter of food and clothing, but just living a mediocre life. Xiao Jie, you have such a big career, why do you never tell your family? Mother Li was a little dissatisfied with Li Jie hiding everything from her, especially since she had asked him several times before to help his brother, give him some money, and arrange a lighter job, but he took it all as the wind blows away. Brothers should help and support each other. For ordinary people, 10 million is enough to achieve financial freedom. If there is too much money, it is just a number. Didn't I tell you that I can make tens of millions every month? Money is just a number? This sentence is old Versailles, and after catching up with Jack Ma's sentence, I am no longer interested in money. Liege raised his wrist and looked at the time and found that it was already past 4 in the afternoon. Mom, I'll go in and say hello to my fourth aunt and uncle, and then I'll leave. I have to return to the capital again, and then take a plane back to Shanghai. Luanzhou Airport was just completed in July this year and has not yet opened flights to Shanghai, so he had to return to the capital to fly. Xiaojie, you're leaving now, why don't you stay one night? Mother Li said a little surprised. No, I'm on a business trip and have accumulated a lot of business in the company. I have to rush back as soon as possible. After saying that, Li Jie was ready to go back to the house. Xiaojie, Mother Li stopped him again. Mom, do you have anything else to do? Forget it about your aunt, let's help your fourth aunt and others. Arrange a job for Xiaoshuang and give some money. There is no need to give more. Just give 200,000 or 300,000. After all, they didn't give less. When we send food and oil, we must remember the kindness of others. After hearing this, Li Jie sighed softly in his heart, it's okay to give my fourth aunt and the others 200,000 or 300,000. That little money is nothing to me, but will they be satisfied? You must know that my official net worth is 27.6 billion. When people take money, they may not only not appreciate it, but also think that we are sending away beggars. Mother Li frowned slightly after hearing this and fell into silence. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 488. Li Jie glanced at his mother and then said, Mom, you have forgotten that when you sent money to your family every year, you were always afraid that your family would not live well, but who would accept your kindness. Mother Li sighed softly, of course I haven't forgotten, and I didn't ask you to help your aunt and uncle, but your fourth aunt's family is different. The relationship with us has always been pretty good. Different? What's the difference? Li Jie said disapprovingly. My fourth aunt and the others are willing to interact with us and occasionally send us some rice, flour, grain, and oil. It's not just because Cheng Qian was still young at that time and she needed someone to help take care of the children during the busy farming season. Also, my fourth uncle is in poor health and needs your help some farm work. Otherwise, with my fourth aunt's character, would she talk to us? Mother Li disagreed and said, Xiaojie, I know everything you said, but we can't just remember other people's bad points, but also think about their good points. When you were young, our family was so difficult. Your fourth aunt, the food sent by my fourth uncle really helped a lot. Li Jie sighed lightly, Mom, if it weren't for the little food my fourth aunt and uncle gave me, would we starve to death? If people are doing particularly badly, they have to look for the reasons within themselves instead of putting all the blame on others. Since you are weak and can be bullied, don't blame others for bullying you. His mother had a lot of problems with her way of life. She wanted to save face and suffer. She would only keep it in her heart when she suffered a loss, but was unwilling to make changes. She knew clearly that her brothers and sisters were unreliable, but after hearing some kind words and compliments from others, she forgot the lesson again. Let's do this. You put off Xiaoshuang's affairs for now. After a while, I will help her arrange a job. Why do you have to wait a while? Your company is so big and you can't even arrange a job, Mother Li said with some confusion. There's no need to take any special care, as long as it's better than her working in the factory now. After hearing this, Li Jie couldn't help but shook his head in his heart. Why do powerful people always speak ambiguously and like to manipulate others? This is all human nature. No one will cherish things that are too easy to get, and not many people will be grateful for favors that are too easy to get. To put it bluntly, this is cheap. The more you are manipulated by others and the more you beg others, the more grateful you will be to others. As a person, you must not be too licky. The more you lick others, the less they will take you seriously and the more they will look down on you. After listening to Li Zhe's explanation, Li's mother said a little annoyed, "I don't understand these calculations, you can do whatever you want. If you really don't want to help your fourth aunt and the others, you don't have to, but you have to help your brother, right?" "Mom, how do you want me to help my brother?" Li Zhe asked with a smile. "Just arrange a better job for him. He works in a factory now and earns more than 2,000 yuan a month. He and Hanfei spend money lavishly, and now they have a child. They can't even make ends meet." Speaking of this, Mother Li couldn't help but sigh. She used to worry about her two sons getting married, but now that her eldest son is married and her second son is getting bigger and bigger in career, she still feels worried. The eldest son doesn't know how to live without talking. He is still soft-hearted and is manipulated by his wife. He listens to his wife and mother-in-law in everything. The second son was originally quite honest and responsible, but as soon as he got rich, he turned bad and even found 2 girlfriends. Can't he live his life honestly? "Mom, I can help my brother arrange a better job. It won't be difficult." He paused and then continued, "But have you ever thought about it? My brother's house is bought in Luanzhou, but my company is in Shanghai. If he goes to my place to work, how will the house problem be solved?" Mother Li thought for a while and said, "How about selling this house and letting your brother buy another house in Shanghai? If his down payment is not enough, you can help him a little." Li Zhe nodded, "Okay, I can give my brother the down payment, but now the average house price in Shanghai is more than 20,000 per square meter, and buying a better house will cost more than 2 million. My brother has to repay at least 7,000 to 8,000 yuan in mortgage payments every month. Even if his monthly salary exceeds 1,000 yuan, after deducting the mortgage loan, the remaining money will be difficult to live on. And she is the only daughter in Hanfei's family. When her family insisted on letting my brother buy a house in the city, they just wanted to have a son-in-law nearby. Will they allow Hanfei and my brother to go to Shanghai, which is thousands of miles away?" Li Zhe knew very well that helping his brother arrange work was simply his mother's wishful thinking. After learning that he had become a billionaire, his brother, Hanfei, and Hanfei's parents only wanted to share a large amount of money and enjoy the gains, instead of working hard to get a small salary. After listening to this, Mother Li was silent for a while, and then looked at him deeply. "Xiao Zhe, I understand. After all you said, don't you just not want to help your brother? You are so rich, can't you give your brother a little and help him? Brothers and sisters, shouldn't they help each other? Xiao Zhe, you were not like this before, why have you become so calculating now?" Li's mother's tone was filled with disappointment. Listening to his mother's accusation, Li Zhe smiled. His mother finally spoke out what was on her mind. She had such an awkward personality, was sensitive, and loved to keep her words to herself. However, his mother was right, he just didn't want to help his cheap brother. It is true that brothers should help each other, but only if they truly treat each other as brothers. Otherwise, wishful thinking is meaningless. His cheap brother never thought of him as his younger brother since he was a child. "Mom, it's not that I can't give some to my brother, but how much should I share?" "Xiao Zhe, I didn't ask you to give your brother so much. You have billions now. Are you still reluctant to give your brother a few million?" Li mother said in a complicated tone. "Are a few million enough? Why is it not enough? Even if he deposits several million in the bank, the interest would be hundreds of thousands a year. Isn't it enough for him to spend?" "Mom, You are satisfied, but will my brother be satisfied? Will Hanfei be satisfied? Will Hanfei's parents be satisfied? If you dare to promise, instead of just a few million, I will write you a check for 10 million right now. Seeing that his mother was silent, Li Jie sighed softly and said, if you win 2.76 million yuan in the lottery and give my fourth aunt 1,000 yuan, do you think she will accept your affection or scold you in her heart, mean? She won't think about the fact that the 2.76 million is not all yours. You still have to pay taxes, and how much you paid to win the lottery. This is the human heart. My official net worth is 27.6 billion. Let alone giving my brother several million, even if I give him 100 million, he will probably think that what I give is too little. Since no matter how much you give, you won't get anything back, it's better not to give in the first place. Mother Li was silent for a while, then nodded, I understand what you mean. Okay, if you really don't want to help your brother, then don't help. Li Jie shook his head in his heart, knowing that his mother must have a big opinion on him. After all, the relationship between him and his brother seemed to be good on the surface at this time, at least in the eyes of his mother. He is so rich, but he is not even willing to give it to his brother, which seems too heartless. However, he doesn't need his mother to understand him, as long as she can live a good life. With this in mind, Li Jie took out his checkbook from his pocket, wrote a check for 200,000 yuan, and handed it to his mother. What do you mean? Mother Li glanced at the check in his hand. You can keep the pocket money I gave you. Mother Li shook her head, I don't need so much money. Your fourth aunt and others gave me grain and oil. I grow vegetables myself. I can spend as much as I can with the 300 yuan a month. Li Jie was speechless. Now that you are not short of money, why do you still accept food from others? What we receive here is not food but favors, and you won't need your son to help pay them back in the future. Mom, you better take it, he forced the money to his mother. From now on, I will transfer another 10,000 yuan to your card every month. If you can't spend all the money, you can also subsidize it to my brother, but I won't give him any money. When an old man has money, he has confidence and dignity. In order to get money, his brother and Hanfei would also behave well in front of their mother and fulfill their filial piety a lot. When the house number, homestead, is approved, I will build you a 2-story building, villa. This will save you the trouble of renting a house and living under someone else's roof. In a few years, when you get older, I will take you to live in Shanghai. Mother Li shook her head, no, it's fine for me to live alone. I can also exercise by growing some vegetables. Why are I going to your place? That's fine. We'll wait until your health is no longer good. But when winter comes, you can go live with me for a while. It's warmer in the south. In addition, you can also ask your daughters-in-law to fulfill their filial piety for you. Li Jie didn't try to persuade her anymore. His mother had lived in the countryside for so many years and was used to being surrounded by familiar relatives and neighbors. She would feel lonely and uncomfortable in a strange city. Making parents live more comfortably is the true sense of filial piety, rather than self-righteously giving them the so-called best conditions. How many daughters-in-law, upon hearing this, Mother Li's face couldn't help but change. Xiaojie, have you provoked other girls again? Don't I want to find more filial daughters-in-law for you, Li Jie said in a joking tone. Put me down, I can't enjoy this blessing. Mother Li was really anxious. Xiaojie, you can't act like this when you have money. Is that your pretty secretary, Mr. Jun too? Mom, not everyone is qualified to be your daughter-in-law. Zhang Wenjun is not even a lover now. As Li Jie spoke, he casually glanced out of the corner of his eye and saw his brother Li's Hepeng and Hanfei standing inside the door, looking over. He returned to the house with Li's mother and sat there for a while. At about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Li Jie stood up and said goodbye. Mom, it's almost time, I should go. Xiaojia, are you leaving so soon? Brother, why don't you stay one night before leaving? The fourth aunt, fourth uncle, and Li Zhepeng all tried to persuade her to stay. No, there are some things at the company that I need to go back to deal with. Arriving outside the hospital, Li Zhe said hello to Mrs. Li and the others before bidding farewell and got in the car. The Audi A8L and the BMW SUV slowly drove away from the village one behind the other. Li Zhe sat in the car and watched the figures of Li's mother, fourth aunt, fourth uncle, Li Zhepeng, Han Fei, and others who were still standing in front of the door gradually blurring. Withdrew his gaze. He picked up his mobile phone and sent a text message to Zhang Wenjun, then turned to her and said, "What I sent you is my mother's card number. From now on, you can transfer 12,000 yuan to this card every month. If during the Chinese New Year, I will add another 20,000 to 30,000 yuan, and ask the Beijing branch to purchase more things and send them over." Seeing that Li Zhe had entrusted her with such an important task, Zhang Wenjun seriously promised, "Don't worry, Mr. Li, I will definitely get this done." After hearing this, Li Zhe nodded slightly and said no more. He leaned on his seat and closed his eyes. Zhang Wenjun glanced at Li Zhe, stretched out his hand and put his head in his arms, letting him lean into his arms. As a personal secretary, she has the obligation to create a good rest environment for her boss. Shortly after Li Zhe left, my aunt, her son, her fourth aunt, and her fourth uncle's family all also said goodbye and left. After seeing off his fourth uncle's family and returning to the house, Li Zhepeng couldn't wait to ask, "Mom, what did my brother say?" Han Fei beside him also showed concern. They just saw it. Li Zhe seemed to have written a check to Li's mother, and they didn't know how much it was. However, a billionaire like Li Zhe would have to spend tens of millions, right? Mother Li didn't say anything, she just took out a check from her pocket and put it on the Kong. Li Zhepeng quickly picked up the check, but after seeing the number on it clearly, he couldn't help but exclaimed, "It's only 200,000. Isn't this too little?" He originally wanted to say that he was just asking for food, right? He changed his mind mid-sentence. "This check is not for you, it is for me." Mother Li shook her head and said. Li Zhepeng was stunned for a moment, a little unbelieving. Could it be that Sci-fi and I don't have a share? Seeing that Li's mother didn't speak, Li Zhepeng immediately understood that he really didn't have a share. My brother is going too far, isn't he? He is already so rich, so what if he gives me tens of millions? After hearing this, Mother Li frowned and couldn't help but said, 10 million? What do you want so much money for? Mom, my brother has assets of 20 to 30 billion. Do I want more than tens of millions? You don't know that he spent more than 200 million to buy a villa? More than 200 million for a villa? Mother Li was really shocked, and it took her a while to come back to her senses. Her second son was so extravagant that he spent more than 200 million to buy a house. No matter how much money your brother has, he has earned it through hard work. You are brothers, so he should help you, but you can't just expect him to live and do nothing, right? Li Zhepeng looked disapproving. What's the point if I keep working hard? How much money can I make in a lifetime? Anyway, he doesn't need that little money. If he buys a villa, it will be enough for Han Fei and I to live comfortably for the rest of our lives. Mother Li looked at Li Zhepeng and suddenly understood why Li Zhe refused to pay. Li Zhepeng couldn't help but said, "Mom, why don't you help me talk to my brother again? It's okay to give him a few million. For him, this means buying one less car." Mother Li felt very tired. The second son changed his mind when he had money. He became a playboy and had no regard for family ties. The eldest son had no ambition at all and was greedy. If you want to say it, you can tell it yourself, I don't care about your business. You bought a house and got married. As a mother, I have fulfilled all my duties. How well you do in the future will all depend on your individual abilities. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 489. After listening to his mother's words, Li Zhepeng felt unwilling and resentful. He didn't understand. Li Zhe was so rich that he couldn't spend it no matter what. So what if he could give him tens of millions? They are brothers. And his mother, even though she knew his son was not doing well, she didn't favor him at all. If she really talked to Li Zhe, how could he not pay at all? Han Fei's face next to him was also full of disappointment and dissatisfaction. After learning that Li Zhepeng's brother had become a top rich man with a net worth of 27.6 billion, their family was so excited that they didn't have a good night's rest. Han Fei just noticed that Li Zhepeng was good-looking and considerate to her, but she never expected that he had such a capable younger brother. She really felt like she had won a big prize, and her happiness came so suddenly. She had already thought about how to spend the money she got. She went to the city to buy a luxury house with an area of more than 200 square meters and a luxury car with a cost of more than 1 million. What's more, if she gives her parents a few more million, it's not easy for them to raise her, so it's her turn to repay them. But it turned out that the joy was all in vain, and he didn't get a penny. Li Zhepeng's rich brother didn't take him seriously at all. Li Zhepeng put away all the emotions in his heart and looked at the 200,000 check in his hand. "Mom, I want to buy a car." He promised Han Fei to buy her a Porsche when he got the money. Now he can only buy a BMW 3 Series, loan, first. The fourth uncle was pushing a trolley with boxes of high-end fruits, specialty pastries, and cooked food. The fourth aunt was holding several sets of high-end clothes, while Cheng Shuang and Cheng Qian each held an Apple iPhone 4. One person is holding a brand laptop computer. A family of 4 walked on the village road at night with a full load. After seeing this, the people in the village had extremely envious expressions on their faces. "Brother, sister-in-law, I heard that your big boss's nephew is back. These are all gifts your nephew brought back to you, right? You are so generous. These things look like high-end goods. Hey, there are also mobile phones and laptops. You guys are benefiting from it." Cheng Shuang couldn't put it down and played with the Apple iPhone 4 in his hand, with a deep joy on his face. She has wanted an Apple mobile phone for a long time, but she has been reluctant to buy it. An Apple iPhone 3GS costs more than 4,000 yuan, which is more than 2 months of her salary. But now I have a new iPhone 4 worth 6,000 to 7,000 yuan. It's great to have a rich cousin. Cheng Qian was holding the laptop with a smile on her face. This laptop belonged to her. The fourth aunt and the fourth uncle were greeting the villagers, but there was no joy on their faces, especially the fourth aunt's face, which was a bit ugly. Before leaving just now, she tentatively said to Mother Li in a joking tone, "Sister, Xiaoji is already so rich, why don't you give us a little share so that we can also take advantage of it?" Mother Li didn't answer, she just said that she was old, her children had big ideas, and she couldn't do it anymore. "Xiaoji already has so much money, how can he still give us a few million?" the fourth aunt said in a low voice, with dissatisfaction in her tone. The fourth uncle shook his head slightly. "I told you when I came here, don't worry." The fourth aunt said as if she had remembered something, "Old Cheng, what was that Xiaoji gave to the eldest sister, a check?" When Li Zhe was talking to Mother Li, not only Li Zhepeng and Han Fei were snooping, but the fourth aunt, fourth uncle, aunt, and others in the house were also peeping through the window. "Should be. Then how much do you think the check is for? It must be tens of millions, right?" "It's hard to say," the fourth uncle said with a sigh. When he saw Li Zhe again this time, he felt that his nephew had deeper thoughts and couldn't figure it out. On the surface, he was polite to them, but there was a sense of alienation. His eldest sister's eldest son and eldest daughter-in-law, Li Zhepeng, Han Fei, may not be able to fulfill their wishes. Yangji District, a village in the suburbs. When my aunt and son Shenpeng returned home, it was already past 7 p.m. Why are you so late? Uncle-in-law Shen Wenliang was mid-sentence when he saw his wife and son carrying boxes of high-end fruits, pastries, and many high-end clothes. He was stunned. Where did you get these things? My eldest sister's second son Ziaji is back, and he brought all these things back. The aunt put all the things on the coffee table with a happy face. A bag of grapes bought so many good things, she made a lot of money. Dad, my second brother gave me a new Apple TV. Shenpeng smiled and took out his mobile phone and waved it in front of his father's eyes as if to show off. He originally had no feelings for his cousin Li Jie, but after learning that Li Jie had become a wealthy boss and got a new iPhone worth 6,000 to 7,000, he immediately became close to Li Jie. Stand up. Looking at the mobile phone in his son's hand, Shen Wenliang's expression became even more surprised. Daughter-in-law, your nephew has really become a big boss. Shen Wenliang works as a foreman in a private steel rolling mill, with a salary plus bonus of more than 7,000 yuan a month. In this era, earning more than 7,000 a month in rural areas is definitely a high income. In addition, his home was in the suburbs and the conditions were considered good in rural areas, so he had always looked down on his wife's sisters. He really didn't believe his wife's statement that her second nephew had become a big boss and made a lot of money. A steel rolling mill as big as theirs can't make tens of millions a year, but a student who hasn't graduated yet can make tens of millions. Isn't this nonsense? Dad, not only is the big boss, but my second brother has become a billionaire, Shenpeng said first. Billionaire, Shen Wenliang couldn't help but scream. He turned to look at his wife in disbelief. Peng, what he said is true. The aunt smiled and nodded. Have you not seen his extravagance, the extended luxury car, 4 or 5 bodyguards, even the bodyguards drive BMWs, and his secretary, who is beautiful and elegant, at first glance they are senior white-collar workers in large companies. After a pause, she looked straight at her son Shenpeng. It would be great if Peng could find such a wife in the future. Shenpeng felt a little embarrassed after hearing this. The beautifully dressed and sexy Zhang Wenjun really made a boy like him very excited. He made up his mind to do well in college, go to a big city, and find such a beautiful girlfriend in the future. Shen Wenliang looked at his son and then at his wife, still a little doubtful. Daughter-in-law, your nephew is so successful, why can't you, as my aunt, take advantage of him? Isn't this a blessing? The aunt pointed to the gift on the coffee table. She regretted a little. If she had known that Li Jie could have such a great future, she should have visited her eldest sister more and been kinder to her nephew. However, it's not too late now. She plans to visit her eldest sister more often in the future to make amends. Her eldest sister is easy to fool. After chatting like this for a while, my aunt went to cook, and Shenpeng went back to the room to play with his new mobile phone. Just when the meal was almost ready, Shenpeng suddenly shouted in the room, "Dad, Mom, come here quickly." Peng, what's wrong? The aunt ran out of the kitchen without even turning off the fire. My uncle also quickly put down the TV remote control and got up from the sofa. When the two came to their son's room, they found Shenpeng sitting in front of the computer screen with an incredible look of shock on his face. Peng, what happened? Seeing her son like this, my aunt asked worriedly. My second brother. Shenpeng swallowed mid-sentence and didn't say any more. He just pointed at the computer screen. The aunt and uncle looked at the computer screen at the same time, and what they saw was a piece of news. Li Jie, the president of Kudong Group, was once again on the rich list with a net worth of 27.6 billion, becoming the youngest billionaire in the world. Looking at the content on the news, both of them were so shocked that they were dumbfounded. There was only one thought in their minds, 27.6 billion? How can this be? Suddenly, my aunt suddenly swayed and sat down on the ground. Mom! Daughter-in-law. After Li Jie returned to the Shanghai Stock Exchange, another month or two passed in the blink of an eye. After being featured in multiple heavyweight media reports including Fortune magazine, Time magazine, and CCTV Young Entrepreneur interviews, Li Jie's influence gradually began to expand. Many young people who often surf the internet, and some people who pay more attention to current affairs news, know that there is another young rich man named Li Jie in China, who has tens of billions of assets in his 20s. Many media even went to the mountain city to conduct interviews at the school where Li Jie studied. As a result, Li Jie's middle school and high school classmates and teachers also knew about him. They were stunned and shocked, and many people took the initiative to contact him. Among them was Sun Xiaoling, Li Jie's junior high school teacher. Sun Xiaoling can be said to be the person who helped Li Jie the most during his student days. Li Jie attended primary school in Sanlizuang village, his mother's hometown, and did not return to his father's place in the mountain city until the second half of the 6th grade. The teaching quality of the primary school in the village cannot be compared with that in the city. Although the mountain city is only a 5th-tier small city, it is still a prefecture-level city. It has one of the top 100 middle schools in the country. Every year, some people are admitted to prestigious schools such as Yan University and Shuimu. Therefore, after Li Jie returned to the mountain city, he went from being an upper-middle-class student with acceptable grades in the class to a poor student. From primary school to junior high school, I just went to a rubbish junior high school that had no requirements for students' grades. It was a rubbish school. There were very few students in the class who took school seriously. Li Jie was still willing to learn, so his academic performance went from the middle of the class to the top 10 in the class, and then to the top 5. Sun Xiaoling was very young at the time, only in her early 20s, only 5 or 6 years older than Li Jie and the others. She was a sports student and initially taught Li Jie and the others history. In the first semester of the first semester, Li Jie and his class teacher, who was also their Chinese teacher, were transferred to a good school through connections, and Sun Xiaoling became Li Jie's class teacher and Chinese teacher. Li Jie was not among the top 3 in the class, and he was not the kind of student who was particularly good at talking and could please the teacher, but for some reason Sun Xiaoling was particularly fond of, trusted and valued him. The preferential treatment given to him is obvious. Sun Xiaoling's favor and concern really gave Li Jie a lot of warmth. He had never been so valued by any teacher. After graduating from junior high school, Li Jie and Sun Xiaoling also kept in touch. When he was admitted to college, he even treated her to a meal. It was not until he went to college that the two parties gradually broke off contact. Li Jie only knew that she later became the principal of an ordinary junior high school. When Sun Xiaoling learned that Li Jie had become an outstanding young entrepreneur and a well-known rich man in the country, she was shocked and overflowing with surprise. She was especially happy for him. For a teacher, it is a matter of great pride and a sense of accomplishment for a student he likes to succeed. After the two chatted for a while on the phone, Li Jie took the initiative and asked Sun Xiaoling if he wanted to be transferred to work in Shanghai. If she is so willing, he can help with the school where she works and where she lives. Li Jie was unwilling to help his cheap brother, but he wanted to help Sun Xiaoling. That's the way he is, he'll be nice to anyone who's nice to him. Sun Xiaoling hesitated after hearing this and said she would think about it, but did not agree immediately. Li Jie understands this very well. Not everyone yearns for big cities. Although the small city in my hometown is not as prosperous as the big city, it still has a sense of belonging, familiar relatives, friends, and familiar streets. Life is more comfortable and there is no need to rush around so much. Especially in cities like mountain cities where housing and commodity prices are relatively low. If Sun Xiaoling doesn't want to come to Shanghai, Li Jie will help her in another way. After the news that Li Jie became the youngest billionaire spread in the mountain city, the media in the mountain city also began to publicize the report. Although Li Jie's registered residence has been moved from Shancheng, it does not prevent Shan Cheng from promoting him as the pride of Shan Cheng, and even crowning him the richest man in Shan Cheng. Coincidentally, the private high school Li Jie attended was founded by the former richest man in Shan Cheng. Shan Cheng TV station also specially sent an interview team to come all the way to Shanghai to conduct an exclusive interview with Li Jie. Originally, Li Jie thought that after his story spread in the mountain city, his father would come to his door soon with his cheap aunt, mistress. But what surprised him was that his father didn't come over for a long time. Later, Li Jie reacted and remembered that his father should no longer be in the mountain city at this time. It seems that in the second semester of his sophomore year, his father took his cheap aunt back to his hometown in the port city of Baihe province. After staying for a while, the two of them went to Hainan. His father and his cheap aunt should be in Hainan now. Since participating in that charity auction, Zhou Ziyu has entered the circle of ladies and ladies. Not those ladies who will compete for fame 10 years later, but the real ladies and ladies in Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Shanghai, all of whom are either rich or noble. Occasionally, she would get together with Zhu Qinlin and other second-generation celebrities to have coffee and dinner, and she also joined a celebrity club. As the circle gradually expanded, Zhou Ziyu discovered that there was still a chain of contempt among famous ladies. Celebrities don't just have to have money at home, they also have to consider their status and qualifications. She and Zhu Qinlin can only be regarded as local celebrities. The real upper-class celebrities are all in the Western fashion and celebrity circles. The criterion is that one must have participated in the ladies' ball of the upper-class Western aristocracy. If you don't get their approval, you won't be able to get into that circle at all, no matter how rich you are, it's useless. After Zhou Ziyu told Li Jie about this, Li Jie only said 2 words of nonsense, and then told her not to pay attention to them. Is it considered an upper-class socialite if she has integrated into Western upper-class social circles? What kind of nonsense standard is this? The so-called aristocrats in the West are just the nouveau riche of the past 200 years. Aristocratic blood? In China, only pets are concerned with pedigree, and every family you look up to is a noble. Li Jie is still Lao Tzu, a descendant of Tao ancestor. Did he brag? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 490. December has passed and 2011 has entered. 2010 is over. Entering January, the weather in Shanghai has turned cold, with the average temperature only 5-6 degrees Celsius. People who go out have also put on warm windbreakers or down jackets. On the evening of January 1st, Kudong Group held a New Year's Day party at a 5-star hotel in Pudong. Participation in this New Year's Day party was voluntary, and there were no red envelopes, draws or other benefits, so many employees did not come. During the 3-day New Year's Day holiday, many employees went out for fun or went home to visit relatives. Li Jie, Zhao Qie, Yu Zhongfeng, Zhang Jingxian and other group executives only showed up, said a few words, and then left one after another. Looking at the performance on the stage, He's Higang sighed in annoyance. He did not sit with Ding Li, but sat at the same table with Yang Hao, Lu Ji, He Lu, and other familiar people. When a man and a woman first get together, they are in the passionate stage, and all they see in each other are the advantages of the other. Even if there is an occasional dispute, it can be resolved by doing some exercise together. But as time goes by, the passion of both parties subsides, and there will be more and more conflicts. The same goes for He's Higang and Ding Li. The two of them are not in the same circle, plus one is young and strong, and the other is sexy and mature. When they first got together, they were particularly passionate and fresh, and they got tired of being together every day. But as time goes by, the novelty wears off, and each other's circles are never able to blend in. They are always bumping into each other, and conflicts inevitably increase day by day. Ding Li's friends and best friends are all locals in Shanghai. They are petty bourgeoisie white-collar workers who work in large companies and public institutions. They all have a strong sense of superiority and look down on country people from out of town like he's Higang from the bottom of their hearts. He also called him a little wolfdog behind his back. He's Higang was so concerned about face that he could not bear their contempt and ridicule. There was a tense situation at a party. After that, Ding Li rarely took him to see her best friends. Not only Ding Li's friends, but also her brother and her parents also looked down upon his Higang. In addition, Ding Li is very strong and fun-loving and likes to go to nightclubs. This is something that his Higang, who is conservative and somewhat macho, cannot tolerate. Seeing his woman dancing closely with another man, his Higang felt a little green. But Ding Li thought it was nothing, just a dance, and he was too conservative. In this way, the frequency of disputes between the two people is getting higher and higher, and they can no longer be resolved by exercising once. During this New Year's Day holiday, his Higang and Ding Li originally wanted to go out together. As a result, before leaving, they got into a fight over a trivial matter and the trip was ruined. "Brother Gang, why are you worried?" Lu Ji glanced at his Higang and asked with a smile. "What can I have on my mind?" His Higang shook his head and said. "Brother Hao, can you sign your autograph for me later?" a boy said to Yang Hao in a flattering manner. He is also an intern at Hongchen Normal University, and is a classmate of the same school as his Higang and Yang Hao. "Of course, no problem. Aren't we all classmates?" Yang Hao said with a smile. Ever since he became famous thanks to the popularity of Running Man and truly became a star, few people called him Hao Zi anymore, and they all called him Hao Ge instead. Only Li Jie and his Higang still call him Hazi. In front of Li Jie, no matter how popular he is still Hazi. His Higang, on the other hand, was unwilling to change his mind. He couldn't bear to call Yang Hao brother Hao. Not far from his Higang's table, Tan Hui, Huo Lily, and several female employees were also sitting together. Next to their table were Zhang Qiang, Zhang Yu, and Lu Li. "Xiao Jiao doesn't seem to be here," Huo Lily glanced at Zhang Qiang and Zhang Yu. When she turned around, she found that Tan Hui was looking ahead in a daze. Huo Lily followed her gaze and saw the noble, elegant, and charming Zhou Ziyu in a light blue dress sitting with several elegant and well-dressed girls. Ziyu is really becoming more and more ladylike. She couldn't help but whisper. After the New Year's Day party ended, Zhou Ziyu returned to the apartment after seeing off Zhou Qinlin and several other socialite friends who came to the party. In the living room, Wang Haining was sitting on the sofa wearing loose maternity clothes, eating candied dates, almonds, dried plums, and other snacks while watching TV. She has been pregnant for more than 5 months and is already a little pregnant. On the big screen of the floor-standing TV, Zhao Xiaodao sat in the car and cried into tears, heartbroken. This drama is Love Travels Through 1,000 Years, which was just aired, starring Zhao Xiaodao and Chen Xiao. Since November, 3 time travel dramas, Prince Princess's Promotion, The Beloved Concubine and 1,000 Years of Love, have been broadcast online and on TV stations. Prince Concubine's Promotion, a large-scale alternative time travel drama that uses imagination and involves a man wearing a woman's clothes, became a hit as soon as it was aired on the internet, and its popularity even exceeded that of The Beloved Concubine starring Yang Fengxian. Zhang Xiao, a newcomer, became an instant hit. However, it was because the show was so popular that it attracted the attention of the censorship department. Shortly after the show finished airing, it was removed from the shelves for being suspected of being vulgar. The anti-time travel drama Love Travels Through 1,000 Years also became a hit after it was aired. After participating in Running Man and starring in Moon Hotel with Liu Yufei, Chen Xiao has become the most popular niche actor in the mainland, and his new drama has received a lot of attention. Zhao Xiaodao was also disliked by Chen Xiao's fans because his reputation was too low. In the eyes of those idiot fans, no one is worthy of their idol. However, after the broadcast of Thousand Years of Love, public opinion began to reverse, and many CP fans of Zhao Xiaodao and Chen Xiao emerged. The original version of the drama Thousand Years of Love is South Korea's Queen In Hyun's man. The male protagonist is a scholar from ancient times who is smart, perseverant, courageous, and has outstanding martial arts skills. The female protagonist is a modern young actor who is cute but also has courage. A classic idol drama script, the story and characters are very good. Coupled with Zhao Xiaodao and Chen Xiao, one is beautiful and cute, the other is sunny and handsome, they are a perfect match. It is difficult to think whether this drama will be popular or not. The popularity of Thousand Years of Love is not even inferior to the previously aired Dream of the Three Kingdoms. Chen Xiao became even more popular and truly reached the top threshold, while Zhao Xiaodao, a young actor, became famous overnight. She worked hard in the entertainment industry for 4 or 5 years and finally became popular. Suddenly the door opened. Zhou Ziyu, wearing a light blue dress and a mink coat, opened the door and walked in with a small handbag in her hand. Wang Zhining just turned around and took a look, then turned back to watch TV. Although they live in the same room and share the same sister with a man, Wang Zhining and Zhou Ziyu barely speak to each other. Zhou Ziyu took off her mink coat, revealing her sexy and charming figure, and hung the coat on the hanger. Then she took off her high heels and put on slippers. After changing into slippers, Zhou Ziyu glanced at Wang Zhining a few times, focusing on her slightly pregnant belly, and then returned to her room. After closing the door and sitting beside the bed, Zhou Ziyu sighed softly. Now in the eyes of the outside world, she is Li Zhe's official girlfriend. She often attends various events on his behalf. She has become a socialite in Shanghai and enjoys the spotlight. All the things she had hoped for in the past had been achieved. Logically speaking, she should be very happy. But Zhou Ziyu found that she was not as happy as she imagined. When she came back every day and saw Wang Zhining, especially her increasingly pregnant belly, she felt a little panicked. Also, there are gains and there are losses. The more you gain, the more you will lose. Compared to Xiao Jiao, she got too much, which may not be a good thing. In a 5-star hotel near the Bund, Li Zhe was having dinner with the company's female artists. This dinner was led by Zhao Yahuan, who summoned 6 or 7 girls, including Naza, Zhang Xiao, Zhang Li, Zhao Xiaodao, and Lu Mengmeng, to treat Li Zhe to dinner. Li Zhe originally didn't want to come, but he couldn't refuse the hospitality. His artists took the initiative to get closer to him, so he couldn't be too distant. Just like Zhao Yahuan had invited him to dinner several times before. "Mr. Li, let me toast you." Zhao Yahuan raised his glass with a sweet smile. After taking off her coat, she was left with only a bare-shouldered suspender skirt, partially covering the beautiful scenery and revealing her sexy figure. "If it weren't for you and the company, I would still be an ordinary student worrying about tuition and living expenses. I have wanted to thank you, but I have never been able to find the opportunity." Li Zhe smiled and raised his glass. "The company only provides an opportunity. All of this is more due to your own efforts. But if you don't give me a chance, it will be useless no matter how hard I try." The two clinked their wine glasses. Zhao Yahuan drank the wine in one gulp, and Li Zhe also drank more than half of the glass. "Mr. Li, let me toast you too, X2. Zhang Jiao and a tall, dark-skinned, mixed-race girl spoke almost at the same time. After saying that, the two looked at each other. Li Zhe glanced at the tall girl and couldn't help but think of a sentence: "You can't understand the joy of tearing green onions." He had not experienced the joy of tearing onions in advance. However, although Zhang Yuxi, who was born as a model, has a good figure, her skin is average and her facial features are a bit hard, and they are not as refined as they were later. In comparison, Zhang Jiao has really good foundation. Although Li Jie doesn't like Zhang Jiao's overly bright and majestic appearance, he has to admit that she is indeed beautiful. Let's go together. He picked up the wine glass and clinked the glasses with Zhang Jiao and Zhang Yuxi respectively. Next, Naza, Zhang Li, Zhao Xiaodao, and Lu Mengmeng also raised their glasses to toast. After this round of toasts, the atmosphere at the wine table gradually became lively. Li Jie was chatting with Zhao Yahuan and the others, eating food and drinking wine, which was quite enjoyable. It's just that they are a little too enthusiastic, always pouring wine and toasting. Not to mention that Li Jie's drinking capacity was not good to begin with. Even if he had a really good drinking capacity, he couldn't stand up to the 7 or 8 girls surrounding him. After having another glass of wine with Zhang Li, Li Jie felt a little unable to bear it. Zhang Li's appearance is also a bit too grand, but her figure is really good, especially those long legs that are a bit foul. Her appearance in beautiful heart is amazing. Seeing that Li Jie's wine glass was empty, Naza picked up the beer and started to pour it for him again. Li Jie stretched out his hand to stop her. "You guys eat first, I'll go to the bathroom." After Li Jie stood up and left, the atmosphere in the box suddenly dropped. After a while, Zhao Yahuan also stood up and said, "I'm going to the bathroom too." Time passed little by little, 20 minutes passed, but Li Jie and Zhao Yahuan still did not come back. Naza, Zhang Qiao and Zhang Yuxi looked at each other, feeling a little strange. Naza stood up and said, "I'm going to the bathroom to take a look." "I'll go with you too." Zhang Qiao followed and stood up. "Let's go together." Zhang Yuxi also stood up. However, as soon as the three of them walked out of the box, they met Li Jie, who had returned. "Mr. Li." Li Jie smiled and nodded to them. "I'm going to take a breath and smoke a cigarette." "What are you doing?" "Let's go to the bathroom." Nazar and the others looked at each other and said, "Okay, then you go quickly." As the two parties passed each other, Zhang Qiao, who was closest to Li Jie, sniffed him without any trace, but did not smell any smoke, only a strong masculine scent. Before Naza and the three of them could reach the women's bathroom, they met Zhao Yahuan halfway. "Yuhuan, why did you go so long? My relatives are here and I feel a little upset in my stomach." Zhang Jiao looked at Zhao Yahuan carefully and didn't see anything uncomfortable about her, but she also noticed something unusual. After finishing their meal, Zhang Li, Zhao Xiaodao, Lu Mengmeng, and others left first. Only 4 of them, Li Jie, Zhao Yahuan, Naza, Zhang Jiao and Zhang Yuxi, were left. Zhao Yahuan glanced at the 3 of them, and then said to Li Jie, "Mr. Li, it's still early, how about we find a place to sit?" Li Jie raised his wrist and looked at the time and found that it was already past 9 p.m. "Forget it, let's talk about it next time we have a chance." Although he also wanted to experience the joy of tearing onions in advance, he still wanted to double the joy. But today is New Year's Day, and Xiao Qiao, Zhou Ziyu and the others must be waiting for him to come home for the holiday. It's okay for a man to play outside occasionally, but he can't neglect his family. On January 8, the movie The Lonely Agent was finally released. Preparations for this film were completed in November last year, and the filming and post-production took more than a year. On the night of the movie's premiere, Li Jie and Xiao Qiao went to watch the movie together. Before going to the movie, he took Xiao Qiao to a romantic candlelight dinner for 2 to celebrate her success in her first postgraduate entrance examination. Why the emphasis on doubles? Of course it's because Li Jie has also had a not-so-romantic candlelight dinner with many people. After taking the postgraduate exam today, Xiao Qiao started to show off as soon as she got home, saying that she was stable in the first test and would definitely pass the line. Li Jie was half convinced about this. No, he was mostly doubtful. "I think she probably feels good about herself. Just like some students, they say they are sure after taking the test, but they become stupid once they estimate their scores. But it doesn't matter, as long as she's happy, it doesn't matter no matter how bad she is, she still has special moves. After watching the movie, as soon as the two of them walked out of the screening room, Li Jie received a call from his mother. She was coming to him to celebrate the new year this year. Moreover, not only Li's mother will come, but his brothers Li's Hepeng and Hanfei will also come with them. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 491. January 15th. At around 10 o'clock in the evening, Li Jie and Zhou Ziyu came to Hongqiao Airport to pick up someone. He didn't come to pick up his mother and his cheap brother Li Hepeng, but his junior high school teacher Sun Xiaoling came from the mountain city. There is no airport in the mountain city. If you want to fly, you have to transfer to Jiaxi or the further provincial capital Bingchenghua. There is only one flight a day from Jiaxi to Shanghai, taking off at 6 p.m., passing through Qingxi on the way, and arriving at Hongqiao in Shanghai at around 10 p.m. Li Jie and Zhou Ziyu waited at the airport pickup gate for a while, and then a wave of people came out of the airport passage. Soon, Li Jie saw Sun Xiaoling mixed in the crowd. In junior high school, especially when he first met Sun Xiaoling, Li Jie thought this teacher was very beautiful. However, he was very innocent at that time. He didn't have those crooked thoughts, such as having a crush on a beautiful female teacher, wanting the teacher to take maternity leave, etc. He was just very willing to get close to her. In fact, Sun Xiaoling is not very beautiful, but she is delicate, slim, and has average appearance. It's just that Li Jie was young and ignorant at the time, so he thought she was beautiful. Teacher Sun, Li Jie greeted Sun Xiaoling with a smile. If he saw Sun Xiaoling when he was in his 20s, he would definitely be very excited, but after so many years of experience, his emotions are rarely exposed. Xiao Jie, you are really promising. Sun Xiaoling looked at Li Jie up and down in disbelief, her expression full of excitement and joy. After looking at him for a while, she turned to look at Zhou Ziyu and said hesitantly, "Who is this?" "Teacher Sun, this is my girlfriend Zhou Ziyu," Li Jie introduced. "Hello, Teacher Sun," Zhou Ziyu smiled and reached out his hand. She could tell that Li Jie valued this Teacher Sun very much. "Hello Ziyu," Sun Xiaoling shook his hand vigorously. She studied sports and was very fickle in her work, with a bit of a tomboy attitude. "Xiao Jie is really lucky to find such a beautiful girlfriend like you." Sun Xiaoling's first impression of Zhou Ziyu was that she was beautiful, so beautiful that it was beyond words. She has never seen such a beautiful girl. Zhou Ziyu smiled, glanced at Li Jie and said, "It should be said that I was lucky to meet him." Li Jie reached out and took Sun Xiaoling's suitcase. Bodyguard Zhou Chao and others wanted to help, but he waved his hand and refused. "Teacher Sun, let's go." The group walked out of the airport lobby and came to the parking lot. Li Jie personally helped Sun Xiaoling open the door of the Bentley Arnage RL and waved her into the car. Then the Bentley Arnage RL and the BMW SUV drove away from the airport one behind the other. Li Jie did not go back to the Beijianwan mansion, but went back to Zhou Ziyu's house on the Bund. In front of the teacher Sun Xiaoling, he didn't want to expose his shortcomings. When Zhou Ziyu entered the password to open the door, Li Jie greeted Sun Xiaoling and walked into the room. He saw Zhou Qing, the cheap mother-in-law, sitting on the sofa watching TV. This year, Zhou Qing first returned to her hometown in Spring City, northeast China, to show off in front of her relatives and friends. For this reason, she even specially drove the Porsche Boxster S back. Zhou Ziyu stopped driving the Porsche Boxster S long ago and gave it to her mother, Zhou Qingkai. In addition, Li Jie also gave his considerate mother-in-law a small well-decorated apartment. A small commercial and residential apartment of 50 square meters has an internal area of only 30 square meters. However, the location of the apartment is excellent, right on the Bund and opposite the Oriental Pearl Tower. In 2008, when eating dumplings during the Chinese New Year at a villa in Sanya, Zhou Qing got the most coins, and Li Jie promised to grant her a wish. Seeing that Zhou Qing liked the bund very much, he simply gave her a small apartment next to the bund. Otherwise, filial piety cannot go bad, right? It was nearly 2,000 kilometers from Shanghai to Spring City. When driving back in a sports car, Zhou Qing was left alone. After all, sports cars are impractical and not suitable for long distances. However, in order to save face, Zhou Qing fought hard and drove the car for 3 days in a row. Her waist almost broke from exhaustion. She spent 3 to 4,000 in gas money to drive the sports car back. Although Zhou Qing thought she eloped for love, her reputation in her hometown was so bad that her parents couldn't hold her head up. She once made up her mind to make a name for herself outside, and then return to her hometown in glory to slap those who looked down upon her in the face. But she has never been able to show off her personality. That time when she went home to pick up her daughter Shen Yu, she was criticized a lot. Now that her daughter has found a good son-in-law, she will also benefit from it. How can Zhou Qing be willing to not go back to her hometown and show off? When the Porsche stopped downstairs in her hometown, Zhou Qing stepped out of the car gracefully, took off her sunglasses, and saw the mixed looks of envy, surprise, and disbelief from the neighbors in the past. It's even more satisfying to eat a popsicle. In this way, she showed off in her hometown for more than half a month, completely stealing the limelight. When she came back, Zhou Qing stopped driving. Instead, she asked a trucking company to check the sports car back. She returned to Shanghai in 3 hours by plane. It took 3 days to go, but only 3 hours to come back. After returning to Shanghai, Zhou Qing enjoyed some time in the small apartment on the bund and then started traveling. Zhou Qing had a dream to travel around the world when she was young, but she had no time or money to travel before. How can you say that? The world is so big, I want to see it, but my wallet is so small, I can't go anywhere. Now, thanks to her good son-in-law, this dream can finally come true. Zhou Qing just came back from Thailand a few days ago and dealt with the matter at the milk tea shop. Although her milk tea shop chain plan failed, she still had 6 or 7 shops open at most. There are 4 stores here in Shanghai and 3 stores in Hangzhou. However, as Zhou Qing indulged in pleasure and relaxed, the management of milk tea shops, and competition in the milk tea industry intensified, more and more new milk teas were opened. So in the past year, several of her milk tea shops have suffered losses and closed down one after another, and now there are only 3 shops left. Seeing Li Jie and Zhou Ziyu come in, Zhou Qing immediately stood up from the sofa with a smile. "Xiao Jie, are you back?" Ever since she received the small apartment from Li Jie, Zhou Qing's favorable impression of his son-in-law has been overwhelming. The mother-in-law really likes her son-in-law more and more the more she looks at him. I wish I could have another daughter marry Li Jie. Seeing Zhou Qing glance at Sun Xiaoling with a questioning look, Li Jie introduced with a smile, "Auntie, this is my head teacher in junior high school, Sun Xiaoling, Teacher Sunday." "Hello, Teacher Sun." Zhou Qing was also very enthusiastic towards Sun Xiaoling. "Hello, Aunt," Sun Xiaoling also said politely. After exchanging a few words, Li Jie and Sun Xiaoling sat down on the sofa. Zhou Ziyu and her mother Zhou Qing went to get some fruit plates, peanuts, melon seeds, candies, and other snacks, and then sat down next to Li Jie. Li Jie and Sun Xiaoling talked about old times for a while and talked about some past things. Then he asked about her current situation and the situation of other students in the class. Except for a few students from Li Jie's class who still kept in touch with her, Sun Xiaoling didn't know much about the other students. She only mentioned a few students who had a deep impression and some understanding. Li Jie and the others are the first class of students led by Sun Xiaoling, and their relationship is still very deep. Zhou Xiaofeng, who was the best student in the class and went to number 1 middle school, was finally admitted to Beijing University of Science and Technology. Shancheng number 1 middle school's reputation as one of the top 100 middle schools in the country is not false. With a bachelor's degree rate of more than 85% and a bachelor's degree rate of more than 30%, being admitted to number 1 middle school is basically equivalent to entering the threshold of university. So who is the best middle school in Shancheng City? It is a special honor for a child to be admitted to number 1 middle school. Li Jie asked as if he remembered something, are Zhou Xiaofeng and Han still together? Zhou Xiaofeng was the boy Li Jie had witnessed, who had been sleeping with girls in his class since elementary school. He no longer remembers the name of the girl who was with Zhou Xiaofeng. He only remembers that her surname is Han. Han Ling went to number 2 middle school, and later was admitted to a junior college in Harbin. Sun Xiaoling's tone was a little sad. The boy was admitted to a key university in Beijing, while the girl only went to a general college in the province. The possibility that the two of them could still be together was very slim. Then Sun Xiaoling talked about the situation of several other students. Zhang Pingwan, who always ranked third in the class and always beat Li Jie, went to number 6 middle school and later passed the second-level general examination. I have a deep impression of Zhang Pingwan and Li Jie. She is a girl who is not very smart, but she studies very hard, and her family conditions are even worse than him. In fact, people are born unequal. Some people are smart and some are beautiful, but most people are ordinary. Just like Zhou Xiaofeng in Li Jie's class, he is a very smart boy. Even though he falls in love early and is playful, he doesn't study hard enough. He is often used as a negative example by teachers, but he can easily get into key high schools and universities. If he really worked as hard as Zhang Pingwan, he would probably be able to pass the exams at Yanda and Shuimu. Every year, 5 to 10 people from Shancheng are admitted to Yanda and Shuimu. The one-price ratio is even similar to that of the Shenzhen stock market. It is quite interesting that first-tier cities with the highest housing prices in the country have similar enrollment rates to fifth-tier small cities with the lowest housing prices in the country. Hu Shukai stopped studying in his first year of high school and went to work in the south. He came to see me before leaving. After a pause, Sun Xiaoling said with some regret, "This kid has such a good brain. If he is willing to study hard, he will definitely be admitted to a good university." Li Jie listened but said nothing. He is a really good and responsible teacher. Hu Shukai was a particularly naughty little boy in their class. He was very smart, but very playful, addicted to games, and often skipped classes. In the second grade of junior high school, he even dropped out of school and ran away from home. Hu Shukai's family background was very poor, and he only had one grandmother who could not control him at all. It was Sun Xiaoling who searched for him everywhere, dragged him back to school by the handle of his clothes, educated him for more than 10 days, and forcibly educated him. However, Sun Xiaoling's efforts only allowed him to finish junior high school and obtain a junior high school diploma. The poorer the school, the worse the family conditions of the students and the higher the dropout rate. Most of the students in Li Jie's junior high school come from lower income families, and the dropout rate is extremely high. From the first to the third grade of junior high school, almost 20 to 30 people dropped out of school, nearly half. The school is poor and the learning atmosphere is poor. Many students are tired of studying and drop out of school early, and their families don't care. I am not even proud of reading. When Li Jie was in the second grade of junior high school, 2 girls in his class met to drop out of school. They threw their school bags behind their backs and walked out of school with their heads held high, looking cool. Studying hard may not necessarily change your destiny, but getting admitted to a good university is the best chance to change your destiny. Li Jie didn't chat much with Sun Xiaoling. Seeing that it was already past 11 o'clock, in the evening, he asked Zhou Ziyu to take Sun Xiaoling to see the room. Zhou Ziyu's house is 130 square meters with 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms, a large master bedroom, a second bedroom, and a guest room. In a community not far from Zhou Ziu's house, Xiao Jiao was lying on the sofa in the living room, eating snacks and drinking coke while watching the princess's promotion. He was still smiling while looking at her, which was completely unimaginable. The bodyguard next to her, Zhou Jing, was sitting on the sofa politely. Xiao Jiao has completely let herself go since she passed the preliminary examination for graduate school. He drinks coke, eats snacks, plays on the computer, and watches Mary Sue dramas at home every day to relax with revenge. Suddenly there was the sound of unlocking the door, and Xiao Jin opened the door and walked in. "Sister, I'm back." Xiao Jiao glanced at his younger brother. "Why are you back so late?" "It's winter vacation, but her cheap brother is still here and not going home. It's an eyesore. Xiao Jian and I went to see a movie and then walked along the Bund Riverside. Miao Wenqian is now an intern in the marketing department of Qwen Technology and will not go home until the company goes on holiday 2 years ago." Xiaojin would drive his sister's Range Rover to pick up Miao Wenqian from get off work every day after the holidays, and then the two would have dinner and date together. He is now immersed in the gentle land and cannot extricate himself. How can he think about going home? Miao Wenqian's internship at Kudong Group was not arranged by Xiao Jiao. She would not help such a vixen. Wouldn't this harm his younger brother? Xiaojin directly begged his brother-in-law, Li Zhe. "Brother-in-law, he's not coming back today," Xiaojin asked. "Well, I might have to work overtime again." "Work overtime?" Xiaojin is not stupid, but rather smart. After 1 semester, he has already noticed that something is wrong. There is something wrong with his brother-in-law, there is probably another woman. Xiaojin thought it was quite normal for his brother-in-law to have another woman. If he was as rich as his brother-in-law, he would definitely, no matter how rich he was, he would never betray his senior sister. Although he was aware of the problem, since his sister and brother-in-law were both acting in front of him, Xiaojin cooperated with them and pretended not to notice it. "Xiaojin, how far have you and her progressed?" Xiao Jiao suddenly turned around and asked. "Ah, we're pretty good." Xiaojin was stunned for a moment and said. "Who asked you this?" "I'm asking you if you have ever experienced anything like that," Xiao Jiao said, showing an expression that you understand. "You can drive with just one look." "Sister, why are you asking?" "We." Xiaojin felt a little embarrassed. Xiao Jiao glanced at his younger brother with contempt. He was not as good as his brother-in-law, being played by the vixen. "Okay, no need to say more. Just pay attention to your safety, but don't cause any casualties." She didn't want that vixen to really become her brother-in-law. One vixen is enough to cause trouble, but to have another vixen sibling, she will be really annoyed to death. "We haven't done anything yet," Xiaojin said silently in her heart. He and Miao Wenqian were still at the level of kissing each other. "Well, just kiss me."